Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today are two very special guests. We have Mr. Percy Tyrone Beard, and we also have your boy Zach, Richard Meyer of Diversity, formerly of Diversity in Comics, now Comics Matter with your boy Zach. How are you guys doing today?
Good, thanks.
Thank you. Doing well.
Awesome. So we've got a full show to do today. We're gonna first kind of talk to Zach about Jawbreakers. Jawbreakers, Lost Souls is, it's not the first crowdfunded comic book, but it's the first crowdfunded comic book in my heart.
That's what's important, right?
Right. And I say that because I wasn't really aware of kind of the indie comics movement moving into this crowdfunding model until you really broke through as showing that some guy who didn't have this like storied history of success or whatever, just a guy with a story to tell, an audience who wanted to hear it, and the grit to do it, could make a comic book and be absurdly successful. Like, you showed everybody how to kind of do that, and I think that your book sparked like a whole movement in that regard. So I don't know if you have any opinions on that, but that's how I see it.
Well, yeah. So like you said, there's been crowdfunding for comic books for, 8 years. And there's been a couple big ones beforehand. I remember back in the day when 20,000, I was just shocked. 20,000, 100,000, it was just shocking. But I believe mine was one of the first issue went far past 100,000 in the first 30 days. And then I ended up finishing after like 6 months at 400,000. I got really lucky in that I got a high quality Marvel artist to draw my book. So it was kind of off to the races. We had just a great first month based purely on merit. Like, there was no like take that to it. It was literally like, here's a cool story with cool art. And we were going up, approaching, I think, like 175,000 for the first month, and then everything went absolutely insane. And then I talked to you I think 4 days later, or maybe even less, like 2 days later. I remember it was like midnight or something like that, and that was when you were starting your channel, I believe.
No, I'd been going because that was May, right? Like early May.
Yeah, May.
I think I had been going since November, but that was the first one of the first things I had done involving comics, because I was just following Dick Masterson's lawsuit at first, and then I moved into following just random stories that were legally adjacent or involved cases. And then someone's like, "Hey, you need to talk to this guy because what's happening to him is crazy." And they were really talking about that Facebook group of store owners at first.
Yeah, so that one kind of got forgotten. I was just, because I'm looking at my my sales figures from Lost Souls, like a year and change ago. And, there's a spike, and I'm like, what was that spike? Because it wasn't Mark Wade. And then I remembered about the Facebook thing. The Facebook thing was crazy because isn't there some federal collusion act?
There's RICO is the like racketeering act that everybody kind of goes to.
No, it's that like Smoot-Hawley. It had some weird name.
Oh yeah, Smoot-Hawley. God, I will butcher it if I try and explain it. What about you, Ty? Without research and no prompting.
I'm gonna punt.
Yeah. But I mean,
yeah.
The basic idea is that there's an idea that it's completely unfair for a group of store owners to get together and shut someone out of an industry, right? Like that's the idea. And
so there was this private Facebook group, and that's great. Everyone can do that, whatever. But the thing is, where it gets very insidious is you got, a a couple dozen people, but you got the blowhards, they're going to talk first. So the blowhards are like, I'm not having it at my store, but it's not, they don't just say it as like, let it lie flat. It's like, what about you? And by the time they get to the last couple people, what are they going to say? Do they want to be chaptered out of their peer group by saying, oh, I'm going to sell it, so it puts this really insidious pressure on people to not carry something that the customers want. Weirdly enough, one of those places ended up going out of business just a few months later after literally kicking one of my employees, or not my employees, one of my customers, literally kicking him out of the store.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why was he in the store anyway?
Buying stuff.
What does he think you can do? Do you think you could just buy stuff if you have the wrong opinion on something? No, get out. So yeah, that was kind of, a bunch of people sent me messages and were like, you need to try and talk to this guy. So then I reached out to you and somehow got aligned to you, I think on Twitter, and we did the interview, and I looked over the situation, and I thought, there'd be a real stretch to get any of the Facebook group people. That was probably the weakest claim, but that you might have a tortious interference claim and a defamation claim against Mark Wade because of his phone call to, mainly because of his phone call to Antarctic Press. And then we had our little we had an interview and kind of talked about that. And I think it was the next day I did a follow-up video where I did a more complete analysis, because the first day I was just kind of listening to you. And then that's the one you retweeted that and you were like, hey, everybody should watch this video. And I was like, oh, that was cool. Suddenly a bunch of people are watching my show. and then it was like 6 months later you filed suit after talking with a real Texas attorney, and not just some random guy in Minnesota. And
we went through a couple because it's a whole big thing. Oh my gosh, just finding a lawyer, and especially for a unique case, and it's in different states. So that was in May, and then it wasn't until, August wasn't that long, but it still felt like a long time. We finally found the right fit, and then it was, I believe, initially filed in August or maybe the beginning of September. And now it's August. Was it that?
I thought it was a little later, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. It was September because then I remember it was like September 14th they had to answer, or September 28th. And then it's almost a year later and we're still working on jurisdiction. We're almost done with that, but there's been a lot of progress. It hasn't been just working on one thing, because we got to do discovery, we got to do depositions, multiple. So we got a lot of the work done for the actual court hearing. But man, nothing can prepare you for your first lawsuit. It's just absolutely insane.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you specifically, like, how you're holding up, because it's I don't know, people don't. If you're not in a lawsuit, you don't realize just how grueling and heavy it is, right? Because you've got bills piling up on the lawsuit. You've got the stress that comes with every time your lawyer calls, is like, hey, we've got this hearing coming up, or we've got this motion. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about that. Here's what's going on, and you have that going, but then you also have the rest of your life to deal with. So I wanted to ask how you're dealing with all that. Like, how's that going?
So, this is, like you said, this is kind of the normal pace of litigation as compared to your hyperspace one you like to talk about all the time. Have you ever seen this old movie called Ice Pirates?
No.
From the 80s? At the end, they go through a time storm and everyone starts aging super fast. And it seems like that Kick Vic lawsuit is like that. You guys have 4 motions filed every day and a decision from some magistrate twice a week. I'm like, oh my God. Mine is months will go by where not a single thing happens. And then there will be like in a really intense, February and March, we did discovery and depositions, and that was very, very intensive. And then, geez, now it's August, and it's just been little filings. It's very, very, it's very deep in the weeds lawyer stuff. It's like, you said this, but you didn't say it in this way, and this guy said, the magistrate says, change this thing and refile, and then, but when you refile, then you both have to agree on the extension to the other extension, and it's kind of, once you realize, you go, oh my gosh, I'm coming up on a year, and we don't have jurisdiction, we don't have a location. I mean, we should by the 1 year mark, but then what's the next step? And now it's very, very clear this is a probably a 2 year journey.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's a big difference between federal and state court, is when you add that layer of diversity jurisdiction in federal court, you add the possibility that they can contest it, that they can just say, no, you don't have jurisdiction over us. And then you have to fight for the court to even exercise that jurisdiction. And one thing that they've done well is drag that out an absurd amount. I mean, it is moving. Your case is moving at the pace that's normal for court, but the stage you're at is slower because of how they've been conducting it and what they're really pushing for. Because they're really trying to get this thing thrown out on jurisdictional grounds. And I would wager it's because if they can, I mean, if the remedy is if they win on jurisdiction, you would just file suit in California in whatever district where Mark Wade lives, and then there'd be no question over the jurisdiction because he's there. They'd have personal jurisdiction over him, and you'd submit yourself to the jurisdiction of the court. But that would cost, that'd be a whole nother set of money. That's what they're after here, in my opinion.
Yeah. But I agree, because, I mean, not to get in that in detail, but a lot of this stuff is it's just silly. I mean, it's like picking up a phone and you don't look at the number, and then you dial someone, you have no curiosity where they're from. And, obviously it was a big deal to, in my opinion, destroy me. And it's weird to be very dedicated at some point and then fundamentally incurious about really basic things, 1 minute later. But yeah, this whole thing has been based around not just wearing out your war chest, but wearing out your, not to sound that Oprah Winfrey-esque, but your emotional war chest, like just wearing your nerves down to the point you're like, oh my God, is this ever going to end? I don't know. The pace has been good and bad. It allows me to fundraise more money. If this would have moved quicker, it might have outpaced the war chest, but the war chest has outpaced the bills.
That's good.
I've been
news.
really, really lucky. Ethan Van Sciver set up a GoFundMe for me, I think like October. It was like a month or so later. It was after Mark Wade set up his. It was actually kind of the idea. You guys gave me the idea to set up a GoFundMe. I mean, in some ways, a lot of people were asking me how to get help to Vic. And I thought, well, Meyer's got the GoFundMe. It was really successful. I bet we could do something like that for Vic. So, Well, you almost kind of, in these type of lawsuits, you kind of need someone to take the vanguard, because if you don't, then 3 people will just do it. And then you don't know what's real, what's fake. And sometimes they don't even check with the person. Some smaller deals where like, oh, we set this up for this guy who got hit by a bus. He's like, what? I don't know about that. I mean,
right.
Yeah, okay. So someone who's connected and knowledgeable. I believe Mark Wade set it up for himself, and you can do that. You can just set up your own for yourself. But I wasn't going to do it. And then Mark Wade does his, and then I was like, well, this is, I gotta, fight fire with fire. And we've outdistanced his, by, I don't know, like 40.
You're like 40 or 50 grand higher. Yeah.
Yeah. But also I can't say definitively, but it definitely feels like I'm the plaintiff, right?
Yeah, you're the plaintiff.
It feels like it's more expensive to be the plaintiff than the defendant at this point. That's my general guess.
Yeah, in some ways that's probably true. But I mean, it really is going to depend on, what kind of deal you're getting with your lawyers, who's running the case, who's doing what the makeup of the law firm is, right? And how they're doing their billing. If a legal assistant is doing most of the work, you could actually get a really, really relatively inexpensive rate. But if the senior partner of a firm is doing more of the work, it's going to be more expensive. And it also depends where they're located. I mean, although from what I hear, that your lawyer is located really close to Wade's local lawyer in Austin. So
yeah, there's been a lot of kind of silly Monty Python-esque things with this. Mark Wade has someone supposedly on his team called Mark Zaid, and then he switched firms, I think, twice, and then he ended up getting the one on the floor above mine.
Yeah,
which is just weird. And then he couldn't. Then we all had to fly to him for his deposition.
Yeah, that was a money play.
That was I just found that completely infantile. But yeah, so it would just waste money, waste time. That being said, compared to the other case the other case you talk about, this seems very staid and mature and normal and adult.
Yeah, there are advantages and disadvantages, and it all depends on the people involved. I think for your case, this is a good thing for you to have it kind of quiet and running through the background, because for you, you're still able to work, and you're able to work on your next book, which we're going to talk about in just a second. I added the link to the Indiegogo for God King, which you said that's up tonight, right? Or tomorrow? Tomorrow's the last day?
About 28 hours from now, it'll be over.
Okay, I'm going to switch screen. You guys won't see this, but I'm going to switch over on the audience end so that I can show them. Hold on, I got to get a bunch of junk out of the way here. I'm gonna pull up the GoFundMe. We'll take a quick peek at Jawbreakers God King here, and that way people can see what we're talking about, and go check it out. And this is the follow-up to Lost Souls, right?
Right. So about a year ago, I started a book called Lost Souls about superheroes protecting a monkey, and then Mark Wade decided that this was some sort of moral crime he must stop.
Yeah, you can't have superheroes
story.
protect monkeys. Not good.
Absolutely ridiculous. So it's just a straightforward action adventure. It's basically the Expendables with superpowers. It's ex-superheroes and now they're mercenaries. So there was a main story called Lost Souls, and then there was two backup stories that were God King Part 1 and Part 2. And then this is the culmination of the God King storyline. Basically, these mercenaries get called back to New York City where they had been when they were younger, and they have to take on this villain that is way too powerful for them. It's a suicide mission. So they're kind of dealing with the harsh reality of taking on a suicide mission. It's a mainstream fun, probably PG-13 type of entertainment, some really, really fantastic art. And I've been selling it just on, just like I sold Lost Souls, on the merits of it as a book. One of the reasons I changed my channel name to Comics Matter is because the idea is that, I'm going to be dead in 50 years, and hopefully this book is still being read. And all this controversy of right now, which could have gone away if just some late middle-aged man just accepted that a book by someone he didn't like was going to exist in the world.
No, you can't allow that to happen. You've got to stop. You got to stop all things you disagree with from existing.
Yeah. I mean, literally, just. And the thing is, one of the things about having this, this lawsuit is you go, oh, it's cost so much, and not to be, cynical or disrespectful to my legal team, but at this point, who's benefiting except for the lawyers? But we have seen some better behavior, or let's say legal behavior, from the usual suspects. Obviously,
Yeah.
boycotting, protesting, and legally expressing your opinion is encouraged. Defamation, tortious interference is discouraged. Ethan Van Sciver, he had basically worked with the company, and it was kind of the same group of people, and they basically chimed up for about 30 hours. They kept it legal, and then they found something else to pretend to be offended by. Because the deal about these people is they want consequences in the real world for their enemies, but they just want to play. Oh, it's just internet goofball antics. Well, no. You wanted to destroy me. You wanted to harm me and my reputation and my business for life. So we're going to go to court over this.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing. They want both. They want the best of both worlds. They want to be able to destroy people and then be untouchable from it. And one of the things that you and I have talked about before is that for the average person, you can't do these types of lawsuits because they're so involved and they're so expensive.
Oh my God. It is completely, and it was absolutely insane. I originally was going to fund all of this myself. And then when Mark Wade started his, and he had a good start, I think he got like 30,000 like the first day. And I go, oh man, he's going to outpace me. It was a point of pride. I was like, I'm going to pay for this myself. Now I had gotten accurate estimates from my law team, but still you hear these estimates and you go, well, it'll be near the bottom. No, they gave you a range and you got to account for it being in that range, not what you want it to be. But yeah, so one of the things that these people do is they do these things counting on 99.9% of people not having the money to prosecute it. And then the other 0.01% not having the guts to say, oh my gosh, this is just going to be just turmoil for years. So they count on that, and then they just try to wear you down. Yep.
Ty, do you have any opinion on that type of that sort of strategy? Is that something that you've?
Yeah, I've seen it. The problem with attrition warfare, of course, is that it attracts both sides, and it's sometimes remarkable that a party that initiates that kind of warfare doesn't seem to understand that it's going to affect them as well. But yeah, this frustrating thing about litigation in general is we're subject to what our opponents do. Because we have an adversarial legal system, they file something, we have to respond, or we lose. And so that makes it hard to give a client a really useful, tight range of legal estimates, because a lot depends on what they do.
Right. Well, while you were talking, Zach, I scrolled through the Jawbreakers Indiegogo. But guys, I put the link in the description. I'm gonna scroll through it again. I don't know. Do you want me to? I can't really screen share it for you. Do you want to talk any more about the book specifically, Zach, or what do you want to do here? How should we do this? I'm trying to figure this out. I could scroll through while you're talking and show people stuff, or
just go through it. So for people who've never done any kind of crowdfunding, what you're doing is you give different platforms called different things, but you give essentially a pledge, and you get a perk or reward tier. In my case, it's usually going to be a book with a poster, or 2 books with 2 posters. So what happens is you are vaguely funding something, and you'll get it in 6 months to a year. But I've been able to do a couple of these so that, for instance, this book, all the drawings on all the pages are done. And I believe I'm up. I didn't update it today, but I think it's something like 90% colored. So this thing, you're going to order it, if you do order it, in August, and it's going to get mailed out to you at the end of September. And this is fairly unprecedented. If you kind of just barely know about comics, what's happened is the industry, the comic book shop industry has just collapsed. Superheroes have never been more popular, and sales have been going down for 3.5 years. Because basically since the last presidential election, it's been open game to just attack customers and potential customers and competitors over petty political differences. I voted for Shmeh and you voted for me, and so now I'm going to try to destroy you, even if I absolutely need you. I mean, this is just complete insanity, and that's kind of where my channel came from. Is the idea that like, what's going on? Like, sales down for years, and you go on Twitter and you get called a Nazi or a white supremacist because you say you don't like this character's costume. It's absolutely crazy.
Right. So what's can you tell me about the reward tiers? I'm looking at, you see you've got $25 gets you the God King book plus a pinup, or there's a variant cover plus a pinup. And then there's the 2-pack, which is, I assume it's the cover and the variant cover.
No. So you can do these campaigns lots of different ways. I believe you had Doug Tenapel on, or Tenaple, a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking. He has one of those ones where they got a lot of different tiers. I tried to keep mine simple because I'm still kind of new at this. So there's going to be a main cover by Ethan Van Sciver, and that's going to be the main book. And then I did a variant, so you can get the main book and a pinup. You can do the variant and a pinup, or you can get 2 of the main book. The variant just started like last week. The reason for the 2-pack, that's actually mainly, well, I mean, anyone can get it. It's a good deal, but that's mainly for overseas backers because they get hit with these really high fees. But for the extra weight of another book, the postage doesn't go up much. So if you're in Australia, you basically find another friend in Australia who wants to order it. You split it, and then the postage per book is cut in half. Gotcha. So in the future, I probably will do, I tried to keep it to like 3 or 4 tiers at a time, but I've seen that the people don't have a problem with having 10 different tiers. So in the future, it probably will do a mix and match. But for right now, the 2-pack is 2 of the main cover, and it's meant mainly for overseas backers.
Gotcha.
To help them out.
And then for $100, you get the signed book.
So that one is interesting because on my first one, I had modest expectations of maybe about 2,000 books sold for the whole thing. So I said, I'll throw on a signature. I ended up selling like 10,500 and spent literally 4.5 days in a hotel, just signing them for 8 hours a day. So, I'm still trying to, figure it out. So I didn't have a signed version on this, but what people were saying is like, you don't have any high dollar tiers. I go, yeah, it's just like a book and a pinup. And they go, we want high dollar tiers. And I go, well, what do you want? And they go, we don't care. Basically, there's some people, they want to support your company. They want to support your efforts. They might want to support, the lawsuits. So this one's for a signature. So some people have been like, isn't it a lot for a signature? It's like, I was told people just wanted a high dollar tier and they actually didn't care what it is. Now, on the next one, at first I kind of gave away too many signatures. This one's probably not enough, but I'm going to do the Goldilocks thing. Probably on the next one, we'll figure out a happy medium. Yeah,
that's you gotta throw the darts until you hit the center. You gotta what is it? You gotta adjust your sights. That's what.
Yeah, we'd call it bracketing in the military. You
and your cool military terms.
First you shoot too far, and then you adjust, then you shoot too close, and then on that third one you're gonna hit it.
Yeah. So what's the pinup like? Is the pinup this Zazie poster here?
Yeah. So the pinup is kind of like the classic like good girl pinup art, and then I had people who were straight women, straight men with jealous girlfriends and wives, and people in Middle Eastern countries, and they go, hey, this poster is a problem. So then we have another poster that you can get. And then in the future, I actually found out kind of late in this one that Indiegogo has an add-on feature where you can kind of do things a la carte. So in the future, it's going to be like the good girl art, and then the I live in Qatar art, or I have a jealous girlfriend, or I am a super straight woman and I don't want, a girl in a bikini pinup. So that's the basic model, is that the pinup, it can be folded and put along like they package these things up really nice. There's a learning curve on this, and that actually goes to the damages, because I lost a company with 30 years of experience in printing and shipping and fulfillment. So I made some very, very expensive mistakes on Lost Souls last year, but we've worked through that, and now it's very nice packaging. So you got the book and the pinup, and they're all wrapped in cellophane with, cardboard, and then they're shipped inside this cardboard mailer. So it gets to you really, really nice.
Awesome, man. Well, here it is, guys. Jawbreakers, God King. I've scrolled through the pictures. You've seen the art. You've seen the white supremacy. That's a joke. Because that's one of the things that drives me nuts about what you've been talking about, right? Is this accusation of racism or whatever, or white supremacy that comes out. That's people's go-to weapon. And clearly
it's interesting because I have a very, very diverse family. So one of the weapon they always use to destroy everyone these days is, they say, white supremacy. I've even seen that launched at people who are not white.
Right.
But that used to be the thing that always just destroyed everyone right out of the gate. But me having such a diverse family, I kind of got to survive straight out of the gate, and grow my channel. But then they just decided, they go, what if we just did it all the time? And what if we had prominent people do it? And what if we had prominent people in the industry work their media connections to, just get a hit piece a week for, let's say, 6 months straight. And then let's get an elder statesman in the industry to start, because it wasn't just, the initially calling the company that I had a contract with. It was then going to a convention in Texas and making these false accusations. And it was going on a podcast and it was very clear that Mark Waid had it in his head that he had full right to defame me until I was homeless, until I couldn't get a job or do business anywhere, until I was completely radioactive and I was, destitute. And at some point, it's literally just self-defense.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes the only defense is an offense. That's not the exact quote.
And the thing that, like I said, I don't really follow your Kick Vic thing. I'm not really into manga. I see you got that character behind you. You kids and your manga.
Oh my goodness. I don't read manga either.
But. Yeah. One of the things I find extremely galling, because I've seen, I've been in the room in depositions, and then I've seen the depositions on that other case you talk about. And one of the things I just find infuriating is this little Eddie Haskell routine where they have this little smirk and they go, I just don't understand how I got here. Isn't this just the funniest little misunderstanding? No, you tried to destroy my life. You tried to make me homeless. You tried to defame me in a way that no one would want to be associated with me until the day I died. And I'm absolutely going to defend myself. And then you're going to have to explain to a jury made of normal people who don't spend 14 hours a day on Twitter why you called a guy with all minority children a white supremacist repeatedly in multiple different venues over multiple different months.
Well, I'm sure he's going to say he didn't know you had a diverse family because he didn't know you were even in Texas, right? Like that's going to be his brilliant argument going forward. Is just gonna be oh my god. Anyway, well, we don't have to discuss Mark too much more. He's a frustrating person, but guys, definitely check out Jawbreakers, God King. It is the successor to the thing that made well, at least it made me aware that there was this industry growing of people with this direct access to their audience, able to build things in a way that no one had done before. And that is, I mean, that alone is worth the price of admission in my book.
Yeah, it's very exciting because one of the things that happened is, I started my book a year and change ago because I was roasting books for a year doing criticism, and people said, all right, put your money where your mouth is, make a book. I made a book. The same people who challenged me set out to destroy me. But then when it ended up being successful, this is what everyone said. They always have these theories that change because, the facts disprove them, but you're always still just a monster. So they said, this is not sustainable. This is a fluke. You can't repeat it. You only made money because the notoriety from the Mark Wade and the other Facebook thing. But I had made 175,000 last year in 30 days before any of this controversy. And this one is exceeding day by day the last one. We've also seen Doug Tenopel do better on his second one, Mike Miller and John Malin. So this is a new way of doing business. And the comic book shops, they're in hospice. There's a point where you can't, they've shrunk by several hundred stores in the last couple of years. And there's going to be a point where it just all collapses and there aren't going to be comic book stores. Well, they'll exist, but they'll be in name only. They'll have like a couple of, books per month, but it's not going to be like the old days where 50, 60 would come out every week. So this is a new way of doing a business. And the people who can't connect to customers, who just want to call their customers Nazis and white supremacists because they're mad that a game show host for a reality show host won presidency 3.5 years ago. We're creating a business. And when you're interfering with us, you're, as far as I can tell, illegally tampering with the business. And, again, you're going to have to explain that to a jury of people who worked at the railroad and they worked at the DMV and some guy was in the Navy. And then they don't live in your Twitter world. So
Right.
all they're going to just see is someone who's weird breaking the law. And they're going to say, this is a really simple law. You did X, Y, and Z, and those are the requirements for it. So now you're going to pay.
Yeah, I mean, and your case is about as straightforward as it gets on that one. I mean, it was kind of mind blowing to see it happen, and I mean the depositions, to me, the depositions look like they only really help your side. I know they tried to run some like little brief spat on social media about how, the deposition showed all this stuff. And it's like, well, the deposition showed that the book was going to be printed until the phone call, and then it wasn't. So it's pretty hard to come to another conclusion. But I've got a bunch of people asking, is this going to be available on demand after the campaign ends?
Yes, it is. It is going to be in on demand. I had to take the last one off it wasn't related to the lawsuit. It was just boring contract stuff. But this one is going to be in the in-demand store. What the in-demand store is, you have a campaign and you set your goal, and then it tracks how far did you come with your goal. And then the website will effectively look exactly the same, except for it'll just say in demand at the top. And then it just becomes an online store. One of the reasons I'm really pushing the first 30 days is, I was kept out of the stores. It wasn't just a contract to publish one book. It was supposed to be a series, and then it was also supposed to be a whole separate franchise. So one of the things I'm trying to prove is, they're going to say, "Oh, you're nothing. You're a YouTube guy. It's a fluke." It's like, no, I have a sustainable audience, and I was prevented and defamed and damaged. So I am comparing my sales to the Comic-Con sales figures. Those are the in-store sales figures for the most recent month. So right now I'm the number 6 in the country, and I'm trying to do, I think I have to sell another 425, and I'll be the number 5. That's the top 5. And that's my goal, is to be in the top 5 in the country, because then it's, not only because I love the story and I want you to read it, but it's also, it's then you get to say to the jury, it's like, wait, this guy was a fluke. He's done, 3 books in the last year. One was top 6, one was top 2, and this other one was top 5. It's looking like he actually does have an audience, and you did damage, an American veteran-owned business.
Yeah, and not only that, but they foreclose your ability to attract traditional customers by keeping you out of shops.
Yes.
And that's
huge.
Yeah, that's where they make all their money. I mean, that's where they go to. Their that's the anti-competitive nature of it. That's so frustrating. It's like keeping you out of a store means that a guy doesn't go look at a Marvel book, look at your book, and decide to pick your book because he'll never see it.
Exactly. There's a whole audience out there that because the business model is a little weird. As some people, as your what would you say, peer in law, Jamal Igle says, the actual customer is the comic book store.
That was rude. That was cold. You cut me deep.
But so the stores have been poisoned. I mean, when you have an elder statesman spend a year defaming someone as a white supremacist, are you going to order my book?
No, of course not.
Why? It just looks like trouble just to order my book.
Yeah. You don't want...
And does that go away? When you hear someone's a white supremacist, does 2 years go by and you go, it's been 2 years? I mean, to me, that's a stain for life. To me, a stain for life means damages for life.
If they stamp it effectively, you're done.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, man, it's growing. We started the show at 158 something, and it's now 159 821. So it looks like people are picking it up, and I do recommend people do that. Check it out. Support a guy. Also, you have a what? Whoa, that was loud. It's like a tornado hit your microphone. Anyway, you do have the other thing people can check out is your GoFundMe for your lawsuit, which is still up and it is still active. Your lawsuit is still going. We cover the updates here on the channel as well, and I will be covering whenever the opposition has, I think, until it's like 2 days from now to file, or maybe it's by Friday. They have to file their if they're going to file a motion to dismiss, they have to do it. They don't have a ton of time for the jurisdiction thing. Can't remember exactly what the limit was, but that's coming up if I remember right. Do you know off the top of your head what their deadline is?
No, at this point, it's just that we're dealing with this stalling tactic, and then there's another one in the chamber after that one. So I just got my head that I'm paying monthly bills until 2020, and then maybe we'll be in a court.
Yeah, it's well, I'm hoping the best for you as always. I think, that your case has merit, and the only thing that would foreclose more people from doing this is the ability to actually pay for it, because it is very, very expensive. So you guys, 2 ways to help out your boy Zach is, of course, to support the GoFundMe. That's a direct help on the lawsuit. The other is a direct help in just general, in building his business, and it has the inverse, or not the inverse, the alternative effect of helping out with the lawsuit as well, is to buy the book, man. Buy Jawbreakers Lost Souls, buy Jawbreakers God King. You said you had to take Lost Souls down, or was it a different campaign that you had to take down?
Yeah, Lost Souls is down. That's now like a collectible for people who have it, but there is a digitally painted, illustration summary of all the stuff from that book at the beginning of this one. So you're not going to be lost if you didn't, read Lost Souls, no pun intended.
There you go. All right, man. Well, thanks for hanging out tonight and kind of summarizing this stuff. Let me just make sure there aren't any big questions here for you in the, because I just want to make sure there are no super chat questions that are specifically for you that I can see real quick. Zach. Okay. Joni Baloney says, Zach, your dumb jokes like the Phoenix looking like the logo of a chicken chain taking over south side of Atlanta, throwing the John Wick comic, and it's sticking on the wall is a thing in your vids I call tard magic. You are blessed by it. When I play video to your vids, I do far better. So there you go. You have a way to make him better at video games, which is great. Let me see. There's some general ones, but no specific questions that I'm finding. All right, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anybody's specific questions for you. So do you have any questions for me before you take off, or?
Well, for a while there, I was very interested in public domain, but it looks like that's all collapsed. So I'm not doing anything with public domain. I know you have a guy who's like a copyright and trademark expert.
Yeah,
so
we could do a show on that sometime, you, me, and him, and actually just get into the issues around it if you want.
I do have some interest, but I got really overly excited, and then the more I looked into it, I go, oh geez, this is just asking for 5 more lawsuits.
Yeah. it's a weird mess. It's a weird mess, but yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show tonight. I really appreciate it. And
thanks for having me on.
Yeah, best of luck with God King. Guys, it's 27 hours left on the campaign. If you can't get it by the time the campaign's up, you're over 160 now. That's awesome.
Great, thank you.
If you can't get it before the campaign is up, do make sure you check it out on the on-demand stuff, and definitely stay tuned for updates on your boy Zach's case. All right, man. Well, thanks for hanging out tonight.
Thanks. Have fun with your 5 filings that happened today, and the magistrate decision pushed up to the judge that was immediately answered and kicked back, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's an anomaly. And I keep telling people it's going to slow down. It's making me into a liar. It's bad. All right, man. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Yep.
Bye.
Peace. All right. So now it's down to you and me, Mr. Beard.
Before we get started, check my volume.
Yep. Well, the thing is, I've turned you back up. Zach was really loud,
Okay.
and so I had to turn down. Google changed Hangouts, guys. There used to be this cool feature where I could individually boost and lower people, and it's gone. I don't know where it is. So when Hangouts runs into Streamlabs, it runs in as one audio stream for them. It's different for me. And so I can control my volume, but I have to control the entirety of the Hangouts volume. So I had to lower it a bit because Zach was loud, and I had to, now it's boosted back up. So you should be audible as long as we're not talking over each other. So.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah. They should be good. They should be good.
We're trying to solve a perennial problem, so.
Yeah. I think by the time that the appeal is done, we'll have all of this figured out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're here to talk about a couple of things tonight. We were going to do, and I think we still are going to, in some fashion, do a new segment that we'll probably do with some frequency called Twitter Law Dumbass Hour.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And
that's where I will either find or source some tweets and ask you about them. I've got a couple. I want to get to those eventually, but there's been some activity in the case today.
Yeah, and it must be said, I don't know which tweet you're going to spring on me, so this is live. This is live.
Right. Now the problem is finding substantive tweets that are worth actually mentioning. It's not just an insult or not just an academic point of law that is stating something like, well, this is an element of defamation. Okay, but we're talking about applying, like there's your classroom law and then there's your courtroom law. And courtroom law is taking the facts of the instant case and applying the law to those facts to see how they turn out. And then, of course, advocating through the appropriate procedure for your version of the facts and your application of the law. That's how that works out. It's really easy to say, this is an element of this and this and this and this, and that's what you have to prove, and they're going to have a hard time or an easy time proving it. It's a lot more work to go about actually doing those things.
Yes.
So that's what we're looking for. And like I said, I've got a couple tweets, and I have a way to find more. But there's been some activity in the case today. I was hoping you could kind of give us an update on that. And then there's been something else that happened today that I think we're supposed to talk about.
Yeah. Well, the activity in the case, of course, I haven't checked my email in about 5 or 6 hours, but we did file a Rule 11 agreement stating, everything that we agreed to in that hearing last week. And so, is there anything else that I should know?
Well, Funimation filed another.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, they filed another, which we're going to ask the court to disregard because their deadline is passed.
Right. That's one thing that I've been talking about is that now my understanding is there's not a ton of case law on amending or supplementing a TCPA pleading past that 60-day deadline.
Correct. Although basic logic and basic compliance with the statute says that you can file your motion within 30 days of getting served. Well, as a matter of basic logic, you can't just keep supplementing it till the day of trial. I'm pretty sure we're gonna prevail in that.
Right.
Otherwise, there'd be no reason to have a deadline, right? I mean, you could literally file nothing and then just keep supplementing all the way up to the day of the hearing, and that's clearly not what the statute envisioned.
Right. So, that's not sort of the idea.
Yeah.
The idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, my argument at the hearing will be if they had this evidence, they should have put it in their motion.
Right.
That they don't get to keep that door cracked open indefinitely. And I'd bet some pretty serious money that we'll prevail on that argument.
Yeah, I think you've got a good shot at prevailing on that argument.
Yeah.
And
not too worried.
Yeah. And so that applies to anything that was filed past that, basically after Markey's TCPA, which was pretty much on the last day. Well, I think it was the last thing filed prior to the deadline was Jamie Markey's TCPA. And then anything filed after that, any of these supplements or amendments to the things, or the brief, which is basically a supplement or an amendment to their own motion. I think Funimation did that as well early on. All of that is kind of open season for being stricken because it's not timely.
Right. Yeah, it's a little, I think if it were me, I would have gone on and filed the TCPA motions to dismiss immediately, because then you'd left yourself plenty of time to supplement if necessary, or at least an argument that you could supplement. I mean, the statute simply says you will file a motion to dismiss. It does not actually give you the right to supplement, but
right.
In any event,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, in any event, I'm of the things I'm worried about in this case, that one isn't one of them.
The idea of the TCPA again, and it's right in the actually kind of not the preamble, but it's section 1 of the statute, is that the idea is to foreclose frivolous lawsuits. Well, if you're out there, a basic logic argument is that if you're out there collecting more and more evidence after filing your foreclosure of a frivolous lawsuit, then it might not be so frivolous. If you're out there having to continually add and support your argument that you should have been able to make on day one. That's the idea of the TCPA, is you get served a lawsuit, and that the next day you could say this thing is ridiculous and without merit and shouldn't even be looked at. The fact that they've conducted so much factual discovery and all parties have participated, at least in the depositions.
Right. Well, and we'll be arguing at the hearing that all the supplementation from the defendants started occurring after we filed our first motion to strike. I don't believe that's coincidental.
Right. I don't think so either.
The evidence that we have asked the court to strike, I believe that we have a very strong basis to strike the evidence. And I don't know if they didn't anticipate we'd do that, although I can't imagine why. I think I said on your show we were going to do that. But in any event, and we'll be amending our motion to strike against Funimation. Of course, we'll be filing new ones against Markey and Real and Toy. The interesting question we have is, do we hold everything until our agreed deadline, or do we trickle it out as we get it done? And I haven't made up my mind on that.
Sure. Sure.
It'll.
So that's where the case stands. I'll be going through I got to read through Funimation's filing, but I'll look into it to cover on a different show than tonight. And that kind of just depends on how my guests fall in for the week. As a preview, guys, we're looking to have the Bubba Fest, Chris from Bubba Fest on one more time to talk about that show before it, because it's coming up in 11 days. 11 days still.
I don't be able to make it to Bubba Fest. I believe I'm going to be prepping for hearings.
yeah, you won't, but I will be there. It'll be 10 days and 3 minutes at least Central Time.
Tell Dawn Woods I said hello.
Will do. Maybe I'll get a picture of me with her just for you.
There you go.
But so I'll be at Bubba Fest. I'm gonna try and have Chris on either tomorrow or Thursday to talk about it, and I'm gonna try and have Josh from Kiwi Farms on to talk about several things that have been going on. The ESA doxing of the journalists, and their DMCA takedown to Kiwi Farms. Okay, so Ty, this group who runs E3, the big video game expo, right? They release the names and addresses of 2,000 journalists.
Good grief.
And then, so that list gets scooped up. What was that?
Was it intentional? Or
no, I think it was a mistake. Well, of course it was an accident, whether or not it was intentional.
Right. Okay, but that's their story. It was an accidental release. I bet I know what happened.
Yeah. So they do this, and then of course Kiwi Farms, as they do, aggregate the information, archive it, and it's available on the Kiwi Farms website. And they got a DMCA takedown from the ESA claiming copyright ownership of the names and addresses.
Frivolous claim.
It sort of looks like it to me.
It sounds like somebody trying to abuse the process to silence speech they disagree with, which sort of leads us into.
Yeah, should I?
Sure. So
why don't you? Do you want me to say it? How do you want to do this?
You're the expert. I'm just a guest. But,
well, you got. How about this? You got some fan mail. Yeah.
Akiva Cohen filed a grievance with the State Bar of Texas Disciplinary Committee, and they're going to actually investigate it, which is typical. It's not unusual at all. And I believe I've provided you with a copy of his complaint. You may do with it as you see fit.
I haven't gone through to redact it yet. And it's I don't know. All of the information's already out there. I think that's his problem.
Yeah, I think so. Well, the gravamen of his complaint seems to be that I caused him to be doxxed because I asked Kiwi Farms to dox him, which I did not. Mr. Cohen's got a bit of a problem, though. He's lied about 5 times in that complaint. And at the very end, he swore under oath that it was all accurate. So I'll be doing something that I've never done before. I've never one time filed a grievance against opposing counsel. I've always thought that was cowardly and pointless. But I will be filing a counter grievance against him with the New York Bar Association, calling out his flat-out lies in the grievance he filed with me. I'll also be attaching his hundreds and hundreds of obnoxious tweets to my complaint, as well as my response to the Texas complaint.
It's almost like there might be some tweets out there indicating that Akiva Cohen was actually responsible for inciting the Kiwi Farms doxing. It's almost like he was taunting them.
Yeah, I've already drafted my response, obviously, and I'm going to turn it over to my staff. They're going to deal with it from here on out. But I pointed that out, that he basically talked trash to the Kiwi Farms, and they finally had enough of him. The idea that I could somehow control Kiwi Farms is insanely laughable.
It's cute.
Yeah. But apparently Mr. Cohen doesn't, I guess he doesn't understand the rules will be applied to him Another thing, so the way this works in Texas is kind of interesting. I don't know how it works in other states, but in Texas, the disciplinary committee will investigate a complaint. If the complaint's filed by another lawyer, they'll typically take a close look at it. I'm sure that's what they did in this case. So they sent me a letter saying, and they sent Cohen a letter saying, we think there could be something here, Mr. Beard. What's your response? I'll file a response. If they decide there was no disciplinary action, or that I didn't violate the disciplinary rules, that'll pretty much be the end of it. If they decide that it seems more probable than not that I did, I can let them hear. I can let we'll have a hearing and let them do it, or I can ask ask for a district court to do it, which is what I'll do. I want a real judge handling this. And of course, I've already, again, in my response, I've asked the State Bar of Texas not only to reject this groundless complaint, but to file their opinion with the State Bar of New York, because I will absolutely point out Mr. Cohen's flat out lies and very, very serious misrepresentations. Again, the show that I did where I had, shall we say, vigorously complained about Mr. Duchette.
Yeah.
I don't know who Cohen is. Funny thing is, I've never tweeted about the guy. I literally have had no communication with him. I think the sum of my involvement with him was when I did that meme a couple of weeks ago, asking him what on earth what part of, I would rather mess with ISIS than the farms did you not get, dumbass? And I'll be attaching that meme to my response. Lawyers have First Amendment rights, just like normal people do. In fact, I'm citing a case in my response I forget the name of it, but to those law students out there who are listening to your show, the court applied intermediate scrutiny to a bar association rule that prohibited a lawyer from commenting on a judge's incompetence while a trial was going on. And the court made a very strong point that this was a permissible restriction because it was necessary to ensure that the trial itself go on properly, and that the lawyer was free to make that comment after the trial was over. So I think, complaining that basically I hurt the feelings of some idiot lawyer out of New York, I don't expect there to be a huge problem with that. But I will definitely go after him just like he did me, except the difference is I can show that under oath he lied. And I can also show 200, 300 of his tweets. And now I don't know how it works in New York. In Texas, you can't file a grievance against an entire firm. You have to file a grievance against specific lawyers. In New York, if it is possible to file a grievance against a firm, I will file the grievance against Mr. Cohen's entire firm. I suspect that he used his firm's computers and other things to do this. So, Akiva, if you're watching, I guess you and I'll dance.
And that's that firm is Kammerman, Unsick, Sonecker, and Klein PC in New York. They are the ones behind this.
Well, at the very least, they'll be receiving a package from me of Mr. Cohen's tweets, because I'd be curious. I know as a senior partner of a firm myself, if an associate attorney of mine was spending a workday jacking around on Twitter, I'd be very unhappy. So anyway,
I don't know why you'd be unhappy that they were using your time and money to mess around.
Case that my firm is not involved in a state that we don't even have an office in. Yeah, I can't imagine that.
Do you want to go through this complaint? I've been been redacting it as we go. I think I'm almost done here. And so if you could filibuster for just a minute, I'll be done, and we can go through it and talk about some of the stuff.
I think the most extravagant claim is the idea that I called for his doxing. I did nothing of the sort. I don't care myself. And of course I make a point in my complaint that doxing is nothing more than assembling and posting publicly available information. That's the striking thing about this complaint is he's lied almost on every point. But even if I did everything he said I did, it's clearly protected by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and by the free speech provisions of the Constitution of the state of Texas. So, you know.
Sorry for that loud ding, guys. That was annoying. It's my... What?
I hear a ding.
You didn't, but the audience did. Because again, nothing works the way it should.
By the way, have you ever seen our Beard and Harris coffee mugs?
Yeah, people were asking what that mug is.
We had these made. They have right back when we were Beard and Harris, they had our logos. We hunted the biggest, most manly and effective coffee mugs on the planet. These are mighty mugs. They're a pleasure to drink from. So anyway,
That's pretty big, but at the Polish Pickle Run in Bremont, Texas, I got a stainless steel powder-coated mug that says "Move over, coffee. It's time for alcohol" on it, and it's at least 1.5 the size of that thing.
These were explicitly bought to be coffee mugs, and we give them to clients as you know.
That's my all-you-can-drink sweet tea mug.
We have very expensive bling. One of the things is when I do promotional stuff, I buy, we spend money on it. I mean, we had pens that were like they were machined out of solid aluminum bars at one point. And these mugs are good examples of that. So,
All right, I've got this thing sanitized here of all of the very private information that Mr. Cohen posted himself online like a dummy.
Yeah, you'll see that in here. He made a point of pointing out that his children, the photos of his children were put up by the farms. And in my response, I pointed out that he left out the minor point that they got those photos from Cohen's own public postings.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's a little bit ridiculous. Okay, let me see how we can pull it. I can pull up this document, but it's gonna cover up us, and that's okay, right? You guys, yeah. Well, that's the way it's gonna have to be, guys. We gotta. Here it is. Oh, Ty, you won't be able to see it this way. Never mind.
I may be able to see it. I can look at on my handy dandy iPad.
Yeah, but you're gonna be 20 seconds behind.
Yes, I am.
It's gonna be a mess. Tell you what, I'll screen share it, and we'll do it this other way. I gotta.
Yeah.
Hold on. Here we go.
Yeah, most of it is demographic stuff, name, address, all that kind of stuff. Okay. I see it on my iPad now. Whatever it's worth.
Well, hold on. I'm trying to figure out how to do this the right way. YouTube screwed up by removing that Hangouts on Air. It screwed up all of my layouts for everything. I would normally just switch over to this window where you are, and do it. But
wow, delay really is significant. So if I were to show you what this looks like, would that open a vortex into the universe? And
yeah, you don't want to do that. That's bad. Okay, here we're gonna do a screen share. They won't be able to see your face.
No, I think they can live with that. Yeah. Hey, I can see some. Okay.
Wait, what? Oh yeah. Here we go. Boom.
Yep, boom. I can see it.
All right. Let me just adjust the window so we've got it so that everybody else can see it too. Okay, that's good enough for now. All right. So we have. Okay, come on, Ty. How did I miss this the first read through? Look who it's addressed to.
Oh yeah, Ms. Oh yeah. No, I didn't notice that either. Sounds like the State Bar understands how things really are.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Goodness. That's glorious.
Oh, I don't care about the link of the Hangouts. It's a temporary link, guys. Miss Akiva Mir Cohen. Oh no. Why does it always happen? Why? Okay, so dear Miss Cohen. The Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel of the State Bar of Texas has reviewed the above referenced grievance and determined that the information provided alleges professional misconduct or a disability or both. The lawyer will be provided a copy of your complaint, directed to file a response, and provide you a copy of the response within 30 days of receiving notice of the complaint. I'm trying to read and I'm still laughing at Miss Cullen.
Yeah, the interesting thing is the letter that follows, and that letter as well, doesn't describe. It's a weird quirk in the disciplinary procedures, but they don't actually tell me what's been alleged. I'm supposed to just read Mr. Cohen's gibbering, semi-literate rant and extract it. So I did have to do that, but yeah, it's. In any event, as I said, when a lawyer files a disciplinary complaint, they probably, I would think, they probably presume that the lawyer wouldn't be stupid enough to lie in a sworn statement.
Man, that's a bold assertion.
Yep. Well, you'll see at the end of this, the very last thing is there's a sworn statement that everything in here is accurate.
Well, the one thing Akiva didn't lie about was her gender. After receipt of the lawyer's written response, the Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel shall investigate the complaint to determine whether there is just cause to believe that the lawyer has committed professional misconduct or suffers from a disability. During this time, it is important that you keep us informed of any changes to your address, telephone number, or employment, and that you cooperate fully with our investigation. You will be notified in writing of further proceedings in this matter. Please note the Office of the Chief Disciplinary Counsel maintains confidentiality in the grievance process as directed by the Texas Rules of Disciplinary Procedure.
Yes, I am not required to maintain confidentiality, though.
Good.
So that's why we're having this conversation. It's it's so typical, right? Obviously, Nick, Mr. Cohen and his allies are angry that I'm on your show. That, of course, means I'll have to be on your show a lot more, assuming the stream approves.
Yeah, and my schedule allows. But
sure,
I love having you on the show, so I don't have a problem with that.
It's awful late, but I think I'm willing to make the sacrifice because I really don't. I just don't. I don't react well to people trying to shut me up because they simply don't like what I'm saying, and that's clearly what's going on here. So,
all right, so that's Jolene Bartlett is the senior investigator. Jolene is an investigator with the State Bar of Texas. So this is to Mr. See, they got you right, Mr. Percy Tyrone Beard, attorney. Dear Mr. Beard, the Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel has received the above referenced grievance, a copy of which is enclosed with this notice. This office has examined the grievance and determined that this information provided alleges professional misconduct, but it doesn't say how. It just says that it does.
I do find that irritating, but that is typical. This is a very low bar at the initial stage of the process. They're just. I mean, when you read the complaint, there's a lot that's implied. But again, I'll have the opportunity to defend myself. Not too worried about it.
If you are represented by an attorney for this complaint, please notify this office immediately and ask your attorney to send us a letter of rep. You must furnish to this office a written response to the complaint within 30 days of receipt of this notice. The response...
what's funny is to not do that is itself a disciplinary violation. Attorneys have been sanctioned for not responding even when the allegations were completely benign.
Man, that seems like an impermissible breach of your First Amendment right. That's compelled speech.
I'll tell you right now, the State Bar of Texas is currently under a lot of fire by the Attorney General's office and even the legislature.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I couldn't care less. I don't get in the middle of any of that stuff. But I will say this. I am a very strong free speech advocate. And I will vigorously defend my rights under the Texas Constitution and the United States Constitution.
All right, let's see. So you, what do we got? You may mail your response, blah, blah, blah. Please email the response and supporting documents. Oh, excuse me.
Don't skip that.
I'm trying not to. Pursuant to Rule 2.10 of the Texas Rules, you're required to provide a copy of your response directly to the complainant. And pursuant to Rules 801B and 804A8 of the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct. What?
No, right there is what I was saying earlier.
Oh, yeah. Failure or refusal to timely furnish without timely asserting legal grounds to do so constitutes professional misconduct. Please know that the Office of the Chief Disciplinary Counsel maintains confidentiality. This is the same stuff. They may provide appropriate information, including a response to law enforcement agencies. So that'd be like if you accuse a lawyer of engaging in overtly unlawful activity and they find it to be true, they can report it.
Yeah, that's right.
You'll be notified in writing for the proceedings. So now we get on to the actual complaint. This is just a cover letter. I have not contacted the Client Attorney Assistance Program. So information about, come on! No, why did they do this? Sorry, it says Mr. and Mrs. / Mrs. Akiva Cohen. Mr. / Mrs.
See is if there's, I mean, that looks to me like a PDF that you just pull down, that you populate, but I don't know.
But she picked Mr. / Ms. and then the State Bar of Texas determined it was Ms. It's like, it's double word. It's, oh, come on. All right. Employer, cameraman, Unsik, Soniker, and Klein, 1700 Broadway. Oh, damn it. Well, oh well. Too bad, I guess. There's something I didn't want to show. Oh well. Information about Percy Tyrone Beard. Your work phone number is there. Hired for someone else.
Scroll back up. It looks to me like just a little bit. Whoa, stop.
Okay.
Yeah, have you or a member of your family filed a grievance about this attorney previously? You notice that they didn't actually answer that question.
No, but then they answered this one was, have you or a member of your family ever filed an appeal with the Board of Disciplinary Appeals about this attorney? Yes.
I have no idea what that's about.
So apparently he has filed an appeal with the Board of Disciplinary Appeals about you without filing a previous grievance. So
that's I'm gonna be calling the State Bar tomorrow and asking them what, if there's something else I ought to know about.
Let's see. So then hired to represent someone else. Please state what the attorney was hired or appointed to do. Represent Victor Mignana in a defamation and tortious interference litigation. Was your fee arrangement unknown? I'm not the client. I'm a third party. The attorney called for harassment of. So there's the first. I didn't call for harassment of anybody, but of him anyway. As I said, I didn't know who this guy was until weeks and weeks after the June 6th stream that he complains of. Sounds to me like basically he's butthurt that the farms doxed him and he's blaming me for it. I don't know why. So here's the connection with you. I'm a New York-based attorney. I commented online about.
You may okay.
I commented online. What I'm trying to do his voice here. What were you going to say though?
That's not a very good one anyway, apparently.
I commented online about the quality of a letter Mr. Beard sent in the course of his representation of Mr. Mignana. As part of that representation, and as Mr. Mignana's counsel, Mr. Beard appeared on a YouTube show frequented by his client's fans and supporters, in which raises money for Mr. Beard's fees for representing Mr. Mignana. As part of
still over that GoFundMe, aren't they?
Every single time. I think you know what that means, right? I think that qualifies as a quick. Oh wait, no, I don't plug the GoFundMe when you're on the show.
Yeah, actually, you've been very careful not to do that.
Yeah, so I was about to do it. He almost got me. That was their master plan.
Yeah, they were trying to goad you into it.
You can't use your mountain powers on me, Akiva. Let's see. As part of one such appearance, Mr. Beard called for a group known for harassing and doxing third parties, the members of the notorious KiwiFarms.net website. sounds so
I would say infamous for the notorious, but I'm probably being pedantic.
To harass me and quote make my, you had to add that in brackets, guys. If you ever see brackets, it's when a lawyer is letting something that didn't say this say what they need it to say. Now that's not always the wrong thing. Sometimes it's just a summary tool, but sometimes it's an argumentative tool.
In this case, it's a flat out lie. I did not mention Akiva Cohen because, again, the only Twitter lawyer I was aware of the day that I did that stream was Mr. Duchette.
Yeah.
And my comments were limited to him. That, it's funny. I have a footnote in my response where I address this that actually my statement was a faux pas. That it violated the rules of Kiwi Farms, and that I later even apologized for that.
Well, that's the funny thing. So we were talking about Doucette. I think there was even a super chat about it or something.
Well, what happened was I got a text message during the stream that Doucette was attacking another client of mine, completely unrelated to Vic, strictly because he's my client. And that did piss me off. I mean,
right.
Plus, I had been, this idiot had been slagging me and my firm all day long, despite my, I thought, gracious offer for him to give me a phone call and I would explain things to him. That's actually the only interaction I've made with any of these imbeciles. That's it. So I didn't know who Cohen was, and of course, his doxing occurred something like a month after this show, which if Kiwi Farms are my minions, they're not very good minions because they obviously
I was going to talk about what happened. So what happened on the show, you got the text message. That's what I knew. There was a triggering event.
Right. You can kind of see me look down at my phone and go,
Right. And so the triggering event occurs. And then I think you said, who is this guy? Would people help us find out information about, like, who is this guy?
Yeah. Well, and again, I didn't really fully understand what Kiwi Farms' purpose was, and of course now I do. So I was thinking more lines of just go out there and rebut what this idiot is saying,
Right.
But here's the thing, I could have stated that, although I didn't, and it would be protected speech under the U.S. Constitution. I mean,
right. But I wanted to get to something here because I think this is important. The person who eventually doxed, who eventually did the Akiva Cohen dox on Kiwi Farms, during that show, when people brought up that there was a request, this is the faux pas you mentioned.
Yeah.
When people on Kiwi Farms said, looks like Ty is looking for information, the person who did the docs quoted that and said hard pass.
Right.
Because you can't tell the internet what to do. I had to explain this to you.
As I said, I apologized for it, and rightly so. I inadvertently violated a rule. So the idea that I somehow sent the Kiwi Farms minions out to dox this clown is absurd on its face. As I said, I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
And of course,
these are blatant lies because it was entirely and in context about Doucette.
They will be pointed out as such in my response.
Okay, so let's see. To harass me and make my life miserable, which he said he would take as a personal favor. Members,
sorry, you literally are beneath my notice. I've never communicated with this clown at all. I've never involved him. I've never quoted him in a tweet or anything.
Just the one.
Yeah, just the one statement that and again, I'm sorry, but that is definitely free speech protected. So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Someone made my face weird.
Uh-oh.
No, it's fine. Okay, anyway, members have since taken him up on that offer. What was it? Offers a contract language? There's no exchange. There's no consideration here.
I don't know what he's talking about. Well, I mean, I know what he's talking about. He's lying.
Yeah.
And you'll notice Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
attempting to harass me online and now publishing my home address and pictures of and information about my children, including my 4-year-old and 9-month-old, as part of the campaign of harassment and intimidation Mr. Beard specifically requested.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the pictures of his children were picked up off of his public social media posts, and he doxed himself. He put a picture out there of a package or something that had his address on it.
Yeah, which I'm not 100% sure if they were on his or his wife's public Facebook.
Trying to figure out how I managed to do that.
Yeah, I don't think that you have the technical ability to do any of this.
No, I wouldn't think so.
We can barely get a microphone working in your house.
Right. Yeah. I mean, somehow I've become an evil genius overlord or something.
Hey, at least he doesn't say that you have an impairment such as depression or substance use disorder.
Get to the detail. He fills out his, accusations in more detail, but it's more of the same stuff. I think in my response, I've identified 4 flat-out lies and numerous omissions of material facts, such as the fact that a month passed between I purportedly called for his doxing. And that's the other thing, too. Doxing is not illegal under Texas law. In fact, I'm pretty sure that a law that prohibited doxing would be a First Amendment violation, because all doxing is just assembling publicly available information and posting it.
Right. There are privacy laws that handle the alternative, which would be where someone gets a privileged communication with that identifying information, like a credit card. Oh my God, I hate. Oh, I'm going to turn off the stupid sounds from that. Like a credit card company receives information about someone or a doctor, and they can't disclose that information because there's a privileged communication that occurs. That's entirely different from here's my home address and a photo of my child and a list of their fears on Facebook, and then someone just republishes that information.
Yeah, and I'm really sorry that Akiva and or his spouse were unwise enough to put personal information out there about their kids. That was a foolish thing to do. You shouldn't do that. But again, I didn't have anything to do with it. And I find myself in my response having to make that curious argument that all this stuff's a lie. I didn't do any of it. But even if I had, none of that's a disciplinary violation. It's classic First Amendment free speech. It's clearly an attempt to stop me from talking about the case. And we'll see how well that works.
Yeah. Okay, so then the last thing, if you're not party, what is your connection with it? Explain, believe. I commented on it online, triggering Mr. Beard's call for third parties to harass me, not true, and others, in violation of Rule 4.04, which is, from my read of that rule, that is not what that rule is about at all.
No, it's not. It's not.
Of the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct.
Do you actually have that rule?
I can... I did. Yeah, I've got it. I've actually got it pulled up.
Yeah, I think has it.
Hold on.
Later on, when we get into this, maybe you pull that up. But get on down to the detailed statement.
I'm going to, but I'm way behind on chats, and some of them are questions for you. So before we get too into the weeds, I'm going to bring it back to our lovely faces here for just a minute, and we'll do the chats, and then we'll go back to the complaint and really get into the details.
Into the weeds.
Yeah.
As it were.
No kidding. Okay, there's my chat window. So this is Blitzky. Kind of bummed I didn't get to catch you talking manlet shaming with Dick. Manlet status is fair game if they deserve mockery. Also, never lend a manlet money. They always come up short when it's time to pay up. Hashtag manlet militia. Rick,
it's true.
Rick Rekieta says, what kind of legal action could I take if a mental institution allowed a middle-aged Armenian man a phone and access to the internet asking for a friend? Well, it depends on if he hurt you and if they knew he would. Intimidator 0108 says, hey, Nick, looking forward to tonight's stream. Just started to try and get the Ty Beard Corvette decal design rolling while streaming it on Twitch. I'm really hoping that it turns out well and is well received like the others. Austin Heartless, Nick Rekieta from the law offices of Leighton Gay, where they have a 100% lost the case again record.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but Brianna also did a T-shirt that just says, this many days since we last lost the case. You know?
It just.
There's also a onesie available she did that says, "Dang it, Nick."
I think I got one of the toddler shirts for the Dang It, Nick.
Yeah,
yeah, for my toddler to wear. 2012 Jameson says, I just sat for the Texas bar, and I would love to meet you, Ty.
Hey, congratulations. One of our attorneys, or soon-to-be attorneys, did the same. Glad you got through it, my friend.
Yeah, it says they would love to meet you. Having set for the bar exam, I can honestly say having you as a father-in-law is far less scary than the bar examiners.
Well, now, wait a minute. That sounds like a challenge.
You got to work on your shotgun game there.
Yeah. I don't know, perhaps you should ask the young man that might be my son-in-law one of these days what he thinks. No, seriously, well done. That's, as we both know, Nick, that the bar exam is a very formidable challenge. So
yeah, it's delicious. Oh, and did you see, of course, California? Did you see California released the essay exam questions prior to the exam by mistake? They sent an email. Yeah, they sent an email out to every prospective test taker, and
so don't look at it.
No. The email said, "Here's the exam topics."
Oh my goodness!
For the essays, so they just said,
"That was great, gracious."
I can't put together is they had a higher than usual rate of people not show up to take the exam and are demanding refunds.
Man, I got nothing on that.
I would take
the exact opposite.
Take the advantage. That's weird. Anyway, yeah, so that guy would love to meet you. Thank you for Vic. I assume Guy, 2012 Jameson. I guess that could be a female.
Yeah, shoot us an email or something. Anytime you're in town, let me know.
Brandon Flynn says, "Hey Nick, I emailed you the other day about an animation studio I'm creating. It's titled Phoenix Animation. I'd love to talk to you about it." Yeah, I skimmed your email. I haven't had time to go through it in depth.
Congratulations, adventure.
Hope to see you, Ty, and Vic at Bubba Fest. Well, R.I.P. to Ty.
Yeah. See, I got this case that is going to be, wearing me out. So I will have to work while the rest of you people go off and have your fun.
King of Mercy says, "Hey Ty, earlier in the year you said you had info on the defendants that Vic didn't want you to use against them. Has he changed his mind?" You probably shouldn't answer that question.
I don't think I'll answer that. What is it? The truth shall be revealed. I think a lot of things will be revealed in about 30 days.
There you go.
Yeah.
Paul Minson says, "I've known Ty for 20 years.
Hi, Paul.
He is one of the sharpest critical thinkers I've ever encountered. In his spare time, he plays and designs complex strategy games for fun. Vic's case is in the very best of hands."
Coming from Paul, that's very flattering. Paul actually is one of the smartest guys that I know.
Paul,
engineer.
If you knew how many times I've heard that line from Ty about you, he thinks the world of you too, buddy.
Yeah, I do.
Blaine 20 says, "Where's your suit, Nick? Tisk, I'm in my suit." This was just, I just didn't have time to get dressed into anything more comfortable. I had a long day today. That's just your PJs. Don't lie. You don't go to court.
That's right.
You've never been to court in your life.
It sure looked like court. Texas has an interesting thing. In these little towns in Texas, we have some of the coolest and neatest courthouses. Very elaborate, very Baroque. But the older ones have one thing in common. They are not designed for air conditioning. And while they are technically air conditioned, it's kind of
Yeah. Well, our courthouses have a similar problem, but only in the winter. It's what happens when you have these buildings built in 1912 that have
Yeah.
15 and 20-foot ceilings in the rooms. It's like
same here.
right, try and heat them with your little radiant heater in the corner.
Yeah. Tyler had a beautiful courthouse, but like a lot of Texas towns, Tyler had a downtown square, and the courthouse sat right in the middle of the downtown square. Well, in the late 50s, the city fathers decided they wanted to punch the main road through that square. And so they demolished the courthouse, punched Broadway is the name of the street, punched it through and did all that. And they built a giant concrete shoebox that was to replace this beautiful old-time courthouse. But most towns in Texas have kept their courthouses.
Right.
I was in...
Stephen Pakaki says 20 to you and 20 to the GoFundMe. Mad respect to you, Anti, and everyone else representing Vic. Keep up the good work, gents. Thanks.
Thank you.
Super Range 128 says, I made a short video compiling various times Nick saying, uh-oh, because it's so entertaining. If anyone wants to search for it on YouTube, it is titled Nick Rekieta Uh-Oh Compilation. Hope someone enjoys it. Well, I know it. I know it's keeping me company tonight. Let's see what's next. Here we've got Nova Zero says maybe Ty can work with you and you can develop a tabletop game. Rip your wrist, ya boy. Oh, that was to Zach. Dang it, I missed that one. That was to Zach. Brian Dewig says one signed copy to put you closer to number 5. Oh, that was to Zach too. See, I couldn't see all of these as quickly as I wanted to, but Perception Check says can definitely tell you're a lawyer. You're bad at the maths. Bubba Fest is more than 2 weeks away. Oh,
you're a lawyer, not an accountant.
Bubba Fest is, but I'm thinking about road rage. That's the problem here. I'm thinking about road rage. Talons here says obviously Akiva Cohen can be a woman if you treat him right. Come on. Magnus Genesis says just got here. Can Mr. Rekieta and Mr. Beard start over? Sure.
Sure. Yeah, just for you.
Cabria Cousin says you can't dox someone who is dumb enough to not hide their information. Jesus, do these people not know how to internet? Lawyers universally do not. Just look at how Greg Doucette deals with Twitter, or Mike Dumford. They make these ridiculously long threads and think that that's somehow good for following or for it's a good use of Twitter. And that helps their metrics somehow. It's a poor use of Twitter. Twitter is for pithy statements and opinions, not for it's not for like a multi-level detail analysis that scrolls through several posts. I mean, anytime I do add to tweet, I feel dirty and go shower immediately afterwards. Bryce Byerly says, "Is a lie in an attorney complaint sanctionable?"
That would be a question for the New York State Bar Association and their disciplinary people. It's interesting for what it's worth. New York actually has 3 different penal code sections dealing with false statements under oath.
Yeah, that's very, very unfortunate.
Yeah, and of course, whether or not saying I swear that these statements are accurate, whether that's technically a sworn declaration or not, again, is something that the state of New York will have to sort through. I would suspect that a bar association, though, would frown a lot on an attorney lying in a complaint about another attorney in another state.
And man,
also, we haven't gotten this far, but we'll be looking to see if there are any legal, things we can do, because I absolutely am going to do everything I can to respond to this.
Well, and I think the senior partners of a law firm that employs said lawyer might be a little frustrated to see that their lawyer was making a sworn statement under oath, a sworn statement and making a false statement.
If New York is different from Texas and you can file a complaint against a firm, they'll know it, all right, because they'll receive a copy of the complaint and file against them. Fair is fair. One thing about these people is they don't seem to understand that we shoot back. People like you, people like me, we shoot back. And
it's interesting.
I don't lie in statements that I file.
It kind of looked like Akiva Cohen inserted himself into a public discussion on a matter of public concern.
Yeah,
He might.
You know, that's an interesting point. They did amend the anti-SLAPP statute in Texas, I think, to preclude filing an anti-SLAPP motion against a grievance. But I am going to take a look at it. That would be funny. That would be really funny.
So I'm just saying, like, if there's any sort of defense under the idea that this person was publicly participating, and might be some sort of limited purpose public figure.
Oh, well, I think the State Bar of Texas is going to be very interested in seeing his hundreds of tweets, hundreds of obnoxious, offensive, pissy tweets about me. And again, I don't know the guy. I've never met him. I've never interacted with him.
Well, he thinks the world of you.
Yeah, I can tell. This is one of those Rekieta situations where he has apparently fabricated this giant delusion that I even know who he is. And other than that one meme where I ridiculed him, and rightly so,
yeah, but that wasn't ridicule on a legal basis. That was ridicule on just the
sheer dumbassery of jacking with the farms. I mean, and doing so poorly too.
Right.
I mean,
I wonder if he owns the Kiwi farms yet. I mean, he must be a fan of doxing. He wants to own the Kiwi farms.
Yeah. Well, he lied about having a registered trade. It was a registered copyright. I believe the farms called him on that. And again, my reply has all that already in it. That he, Anyway, I'm sorry that the farms hurt your feelings, Akiva, but you're not taking it out on me, not without consequences.
Next, Asphyxiation says, Ty, if Nick goes to the TCPA hearing, can he wear a giant mosquito costume and stare menacingly at Lemoyne and not get kicked out?
Probably not.
Also,
I don't believe the judge would be very impressed by such a costume.
Also, optionally holding a sign saying, I miss you, baby. I think the sign might have to stay on the coat rack.
Yeah. Well,
interesting First Amendment question, though. I was talking to someone who is an anime convention goer and cosplayer, and they talked about the fact that this will be, a public hearing, or the hearings are public, and so there will be a public trial, if assuming it gets that far, and it's very possible that people could show up in cosplay to support Vic.
The courts have, I think the Supreme Court's ruled on this. The courts have considerable leeway to enforce the rules of decorum.
But aren't those rules designed around public safety, though? So, like, no coats because you could conceal a rifle or something in it.
Yeah.
But assuming that someone just shows up in a cosplay outfit that matches, that complies with the rules, because there isn't a rule that says no costume. There's a rule that says no particular articles of clothing, no hat.
I'd have to pull the local rules.
There's a Supreme Court case on point here.
Oh, is there? Okay. I thought
it's a little bit different, but there's a guy in the late 60s who showed up to a court hearing with a jacket that said "fuck the draft." And I
love the 60s free speech cases.
He won. He won because it was clearly political speech. Sure. And it was protected speech, and the court had no ability to impede that political speech.
Well, I mean that's correct. If it can be established that it's political speech, as you well know, Nick, the U.S. Supreme Court applies what's called strict scrutiny to any government effort to restrict political speech. And as a practical matter, you almost never win if you're the government on strict scrutiny.
Right. I think that an easy argument could be made that because political doesn't mean Republican, Democrat, and political doesn't mean literal elections. Political, as defined by the Supreme Court, tends to mean just matters of contention in the public discourse. I mean, it's a little more specific than that, but it's not. It's pretty broad.
If my opinion matters, I would encourage supporters to not come in costume.
I'm just saying, a strong statement is
I mean,
200 shirtless Brolys in the courtroom.
Yeah. Well, Nick, I mean, if I can control the farms apparently by just, I don't know, speaking, there's no telling what I can do to cosplayers.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. You are all powerful.
Something like that.
Anyway, I thought that was an interesting sort of question that they raised, and
Public. And the courtroom, excuse me, sorry, the courtroom's a pretty good sized courtroom. There's a fair amount of seating in there.
The one thing I would encourage anybody to do is however, if you go to any public hearing at any court ever, make sure you check the rules of the court and comply with the rules of the court. And if you're asked to leave, it's probably in your best interest to do so.
Yeah, unless you like to be taken.
But yeah, it's I don't know. Chump seems like a free speech guy. We'll see. The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight says, Ty, you are the true Harvey Dent and you are the true hero. Thank you for keeping up this fight. Your calm and collective tactics in this battle is just astonishing. Keep fighting the true justice fight. Batman has your back.
Thank you.
And then final super chat, and we'll get back to the questions, or the back to the document. It says, hey, Ty, you are catching up to Nick in the amount of salty ethics complaints from salty front holes to call them.
But I don't think Nick has actually had one investigated, though. So
you're bypassing me there.
I take your victories where you find them.
He says to call them vaginas is insult to women. So there you go. That's why I used front hole, which is the PC term. Okay, so back to Mythos Irving says, I sent the salty chat just now. It was not anonymous. I boomered it. Oh, okay. Thanks, Mythos, for pointing that out. Okay, let's get back to the document here. Here's the bar complaint, and what do we got? I got a screen share. Forget how to do all this.
Operate this high technology stuff, Nick.
You have no idea. Okay. Now now I've got to change where the. What is it? No, that's not. Where were we? Oh, we were here. We were in the different window. That's right. That's why it's different. Okay, perfect. We're good now. So if you have copies of the documents, please attach. So here's his complaint. Now,
right there.
This is clearly looking like clearly a lawyer wrote this. It's got subheadings and it's organized in the way that
it's technically a lawyer, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay, so
actually of any legal competence.
He comes out strong in his intro. It's a well-drafted intro. Mr. Beard violated at least Rule 4.04 of the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct by calling for my harassment and the harassment of others in violation of his duty to third parties not to engage in conduct that has no substantial purpose other than to burden third parties. Let's talk about that real quick. Here's the rule.
404A says that, that you can't. Yeah, bring it up. There it is right there. Yeah. In representing a client, a lawyer should not use means that have no substantial purpose other than to embarrass, delay, or burden a third party, or use methods of obtaining evidence that violate the legal rights of such a person. And none of the comments are applicable to conduct that Akiva complains of. B has nothing to do. 404A is first of all, right out of the chute, in representing a client. Actually, on your program, I was not representing a client. I was defending my firm and myself against asinine attacks by Duchette.
And there's
it's substantial purpose.
there's an unwritten, to me, there's an inference here that says third parties related to the suit. We're talking we're talking witnesses, we're talking affiants, we're talking people who, witnesses and affiants really, or like family members of witnesses and affiants, stuff like that. People who have some sort of relation. And the other thing that's actually stated here is that using means that have no substantial purpose. They're talking about legal means. They're talking
about procedural stuff. Harassing people with
subpoenas. Depositions.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a stretch. It's a huge stretch because at the end of the day, apparently, what the complainant in this complaint is trying to argue is that it's a disciplinary violation for a Texas attorney to say something that offends a New York attorney. And such a law doesn't exist anywhere in Texas ethical canon. But even if it did, it would be flagrantly unconstitutional. And
yeah, I think over the next couple days I might dig into the case law around this because I find this pretty interesting, and to see what they've actually disciplined people for. I would be very surprised if there was anything like this.
Well, they can't. I mean, we again, and I think I've provided you with a very rough outline of my response just for fun. And you can see some of the Supreme Court cases that I quote. I mean, the interesting thing is there aren't a lot of cases out there on lawyers in the First Amendment because it's well understood that we have the same First Amendment rights as anybody else. The only time we can be allowed, the only time that limits on our free speech rights have been upheld have been when it was necessary to protect the integrity of the process, such as the case I mentioned where the lawyer was not allowed to talk while a trial was going on, not allowed to publicly slag the judge. And as I said, the Supreme Court said, yeah, but when the trial's over, he's allowed to do that. Now, if you can attack a judge, if the First Amendment allows an attorney to criticize a judge, I'm pretty sure that making some idiot lawyer in New York City cry is probably going to be okay.
Someone in the chat brings up an interesting point, and I've been chuckling. Says, hang on, threatening to depose a third party in, say, Minnesota for the purposes of harassing him/her is an ethics violation in Texas?
Interesting.
Let's see. Okay, so yeah. Background. Mr. Beard was retained by Mr. Mignana, but per Mr. Mignana's deposition transcript that was recently publicly filed in connection with a motion in the action, is being paid from the proceeds of a GoFundMe set up for that purpose. What background?
They hurt over that GoFundMe, aren't they?
It is amazing. That has no basis to the background of this complaint.
Well, it has nothing to do with any of the legal issues in this case, but it just pisses them off.
Yep.
Hey, you made it in here too. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah. I'm hoping my job is to get named in as many legal documents as possible as this channel goes on.
I think you're on your way in this case.
As reflected on the GoFundMe webpage, the GoFundMe campaign, the GFM, was set up by Nick Rekieta, a Minnesota attorney who hosts a YouTube channel accessible at, just put youtube.com/C/Rekieta Law rather than this broke. I got that custom URL just for these documents, on which Mr. Rekieta lawsplains legal topics to the internet, fueled by whiskey and rage. At least he got that right. KiwiFarms.net, often referred to as the Farms. So when you bought the Farms, it was the Kiwi Farms.
You were buying the Kiwi Farms.
Is a notorious internet troll farm, famous or infamous. Sorry. Oh, it's like Maddox wrote it. For participating in the harassment of targets identified as lolcows. Can you imagine, what is her name, Jolene or Jo?
I don't know.
Can you imagine her reading this oh, okay, lolcows. Okay, I got it. Just to see it. It is most infamous for hosting the manifesto. Here's a challenge, Kiwi Farms. Most infamous for hosting the manifesto and live stream of the Christchurch mosque shooter. See generally https://wikipedia.org Kiwi Farms. So that's your most infamous accomplishment, Kiwi Farms, is the Christchurch mosque shooting, which I don't think that's true. Here's his next subheader: Beard's appearances on Rekieta's channel in the course of his representation and call for harassment.
Yeah.
As reflected in his videos, Mr. Rekieta engages in fundraising for the GFM, asking his audience to contribute.
What mention of the GoFundMe?
It's it's getting up there.
Yeah, little Akiva.
They can never not tell you what bothers them. They never can. Blaine20 says, question, Mr. Rekieta, as you sit here today, do you believe that Texas attorney J. Sean Lemoyne is a raging cucklord? Answer, absolutely. Let's see. Thus, in the course of his representation of Mr. Mignogna, and in order to maintain the fan support, financial and otherwise, that his client requires, Mr. Beard has repeatedly appeared on Mr. Rekieta's channel to discuss Mr. Mignogna's lawsuit and reactions to it. That's not at all the purpose of your appearances on my show, by the way.
No, but what I find fascinating is, again, we see the double standard that these scumbags try to employ. They're allowed to attack Vic publicly at every turn. They're allowed to attack me and my firm at every turn. And by the way, not one time have I complained about that. I've poked fun at them and sneered at them and, stated that their attacks are pathetic and amateurish. But not one time have I ever said, no, that's not nice. But once again, we see them attempting to impose a double standard. They get to do all these things, and they're going to abuse the processes out there to try to shut that down. And, I'll go through the process in the state of Texas because I'm required to do that. But I will absolutely fight all the way to the Texas and U.S. Supreme Courts if I have to, because it just, And,
but see, what they don't what he's misrepresenting here, because when you come on the show, I don't talk about the GoFundMe.
That's right. That's I'm trying to get an affidavit from you stating that, because I've got it in big bold letters. Cohen lies about this. Cohen lies about that in my response. I think an affidavit from you making that very comment would be good. I've never shilled for the GoFundMe. I don't, I've merely stated, I think I've said that the GoFundMe was a game changer.
We laugh at how much they get mad about it.
Oh yeah. What is this? 4 times in a bar complaint?
4 times in the opening 3 paragraphs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, in connection with Mr. Mignogna's lawsuit, Mr. Beard sent TDMA letters to the potential defendants that, in apparent violation of either his duty of competence under Rule 101 or his duty of truthfulness under Rule 4.01, inter alia, A, identified the statement that his client was a piece of shit as false and defamatory because it was false. Because it was impossible for Mr. Mignogna to be a piece of shit because he was not literally made of feces. And B, identified the statement that Jesus would light Mignogna on fire and send him to hell as false and defamatory because nowhere in the Bible did Jesus send anyone to hell.
Well, we might want to bring up statements like that in a Tarrant County lawsuit.
I don't know why, man, no idea.
Yeah, I can't imagine that either. Oh, well.
But even so, it's circumstantial evidence of malice.
Absolutely. They're attacking his religious beliefs. Obviously, well, anyway.
Yeah, we don't have to go too far. We've had this discussion. Understandably, those letters came in for quite a bit of mockery. See Solicitor Pirate Twitter, a Twitter user noting that the piece of shit letter was being discussed among Australian attorneys, including from me, which is, he has a sentence, including from me is apparently, that's a weird sentence.
When you click on the link that he provides, it doesn't come up with anything. It says his account's protected.
Well,
something that I've made again in my response, I've called him out on. He's posted links that don't lead anywhere.
Well, thankfully, those are archived.
Yes, they are. Hundreds of them, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to use those exhibits in 2 completely different forums.
This made Mr. Beard incredibly upset. God. As reflected in his June 6th appearance on Mr. Rekieta's stream, held on the day that his letters went viral. Actually, that's a lie, too.
Yeah.
The letters went viral the day before. I found this out.
I found out this stuff on June 6th, that afternoon, early afternoon. That's the first I heard of them. In fact, it was within my sole, as I said earlier, my sole engagement on Twitter or anywhere with these clowns was to simply suggest that Duchette call me and then I would enlighten him as to, why we did what we did.
Right. But
And
Akiva was even commenting on this on June 5th.
Yeah, well, and again, see, I didn't know.
No,
Akiva,
I only learned that in researching the archive links today.
See. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know who this clown was. I still don't really. I mean, he's really kind of beneath our notice. But
yeah, Ryan Mercado says, "Geez, Cohen is so butthurt he actually went through with filing an ethics complaint. I never thought he'd go this low. Ty, I really hope Cohen gets disbarred for pulling a stunt like that."
I'm going to complain vociferously to the New York Bar Association because, again, look, you want to criticize my work, I don't care. Like I said, I'll shoot back and I'll laugh. But lying to my bar association and causing me to have to dedicate some staff to dealing with something like this, that really is bad. What I want to know is how anyone would actually put their law license in jeopardy over something like this.
You don't understand how this is. Well, I mean, you do understand, but this is the tactic. It's the tactic when you must go after the ability to earn income of someone. That's their only way they fight.
Well, and again, that's fine because I will use the same exact strategy. And the big difference is I didn't lie under oath about anything. And there aren't 200 tweets of me being an obnoxious asshole, and then whining about it in a bar complaint. I mean, how pathetic, right? But that's a different issue,
By the way, if you see me doing weird stuff with my face while you're talking, you can't see me. Never mind. It's because there's people are putting masks on my face and I'm reacting to them.
Okay.
Well, during that appearance, Mr. Beard specifically and repeatedly asked the farms to attack and harass third parties who were critical of the quality of his work, twice expressing his hope that the farms would make our lives miserable.
Sorry, Akiva, I didn't even know who you were.
And reiterating his seriousness even when Mr. Rekieta tried to pull him back into line. Well,
yeah, that's funny. In my response, I actually footnote that. I mentioned that comment. And that's where I talk about the fact that Mr. Rekieta was trying to call my attention to the fact that I had committed a faux pas.
Yeah, I frankly
later apologize for.
I frankly don't care about the lives of these Twitter lawyers. I really don't care what happens to them. They will never. If all of them died tomorrow, I wouldn't care. If they all won the lottery tomorrow, at least Greg Doucette could pay off his bankruptcy. I don't. They don't impact my life in that way. So no. To attack in her. Let's see. I was trying to pull you back into line because you committed the faux pas of not your personal army. That's it. I
was violating inadvertently, obviously. I was inadvertently violating a norm that I shouldn't have violated.
The Farms follows Mr. Beard's call for harassment. You heard him, Farms. You are followers, apparently. Yeah. Following Mr. Beard's request, Kiwi Farms has now doxed me, Greg Doucette, and Virginia Fitt. I don't even know who Virginia Fitt is.
I never heard that name before.
Apparently, she's an attorney. Attorneys who have been critical of his letters and practice. I mean, I have seen the Doxamon thread. You've seen it apparently because it was in the deposition. The world has seen the Doxamon thread, I believe, because it's filed in the deposition. I don't know that. Is Virginia Fitt in there? Is that person so insignificant that I have skimmed over her docs the entire time?
I've never heard of her. I mean, I have not noticed her. I'll say it that. I mean, apparently, I have no idea who this is. But right out of the chute, notice the huge piece of information that he omits. The fact that doxing occurred a month after this June 6th.
Well, and Greg Doucette's doxing occurred prior to the show.
Yeah. So again, he's lying. Omitting a material fact in something like this is a lie. And and as I said, we will expose that.
The post doxing me and publishing information about my children and ex-wife to enable their harassment as well can be found here.
Oh, that's interesting. So we'll have to click on that post and put it in my response and point out that it was a month later by his own admission. Well, I'm sorry, not by his own admission.
Right.
He also leaves out the fact again that the information about his children he put out there.
Let's see. Specific rule violation. As indicated above, I respectfully submit that Mr. Beard's conduct clearly violated Rule 4.04 of the disciplinary rules, in that it was conduct undertaken for no reason other than to burden third parties in the course of his representation of Mr. Mignogna. You're not a third party to Mr. Mignogna's case. I would ask.
And again, the conduct that I engaged in was very clearly a response to Duchette's idiotic postings. Had nothing to do with Cohen. Didn't even know who the guy was.
I would ask the board to consider whether his conduct violated any other rules, including Rule 8.4.
There is no Rule 8.4, you moron. It's 8.04, but, again.
And is there? Are you sure? I don't know.
Yeah, it's 8.04.
I'm going to pull it up.
Yeah, pretty sure. It's
8.4. The 0.
Yeah, there's no 8.4. So.
Well, I guess you didn't violate that then.
Yeah. What's sloppy drafting from a purported attorney? This is the kind of stuff that I was getting at in your show a couple days ago, is how embarrassing these clowns are to our profession. I've never seen a more arrogant group of amateurish buffoons as these Twitter lawyers.
No, don't you know they all congratulate each other, so they're right. That's how it works.
Yeah, we have a word for that in East Texas, and I don't think I'll get it.
As attorneys and officers of the court, we should not. Oh my God, it's time to have a conversation. We should not be seeking to encourage and enable the harassment of and potential threats to other attorneys. You literally do this, Cohen. You did this.
Well, again, the State Bar of New York will have an interesting read when they receive my complaint, because my complaint will be backed up with facts and it will be backed up with evidence, and I'm not going to lie.
Akiva Cohen. Now, I don't know the merits of the person he was doing. He posted a link to another attorney's to encourage other attorneys to file bar complaints against an attorney in a different state that he is not engaged in representation against or with.
Yeah, I need if any, I'm sure we'll be looking at that too. But if anybody turns up any additional bar complaints this little twerp has filed, I would be curious if you could forward that information to us, because he's obviously a serial tattletale.
Well, and the funny thing is, for whatever it's worth, he CC'd Popat in his initial tweet mocking the TDMA letters. He was begging for Popat to give him a moment of attention and to direct that attention negatively at your firm. He was literally calling for the harassment of other attorneys.
Of course he was.
Such a disingenuous pile of trash. Oh my God.
It really is. Well, and again, note the difference, right? Someone attacks my firm scurrilously, I simply call them out on it and offer to engage them. And when they refuse to engage, then I point it and laugh at them. These little twerps, it's the tattletales from grade school. The despicable, disgusting, hypocritical, and I must say incompetent tattletales. Because again, Cohen, what were you doing during your workday, sitting on Twitter and sending out dozens, if not hundreds, of tweets? What? Nobody that's got clients has got time to do that. But again, I will be in communication with their firm. At the very least, I'll send a pretty stiffly worded letter to their senior partners and just say, this guy is about to get you sued, if at all possible. Well, because I am. I don't like it when people try to attack my ability to put food on the table.
Of course.
Right,
and it is the tactic of the coward. It is the primary tactic of the coward.
Absolutely. He is a disgusting weasel. And the U.S. Constitution and the Texas Constitution allow me to call him a disgusting weasel, a cowardly, disgusting weasel. That's what I was saying, way back when, I think on the first time I was on your show, Nick, in a more civilized time, my second would have gone and spoken to his second. We would have arranged a meeting at dawn at a mutually convenient spot. We'd have resolved this. But of course, gutless weasels didn't really shoot their mouths off very much in those days. Because if you knew you might be standing over a dueling pistol, looking over a dueling pistol at somebody, you probably didn't just shoot your pie hole off. But unfortunately, we live in this pinko leftist society now that won't let me just challenge you to a duel. But
I have one criticism of you.
Sure.
Stop tapping your table.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's a nervous habit because it's coming on the microphone, isn't it?
Yeah, it's loud. It feels like a drum circle in here.
Oh, sorry.
I feel like I need to throw money into your hat. Even if those attorneys are exercising their First Amendment rights by criticizing our work.
Apparently, I don't get to exercise my First Amendment rights.
No, not at all.
This idiot.
I asked the board to remind Mr. Beard of that in the strongest possible manner.
Oh, and I'll be asking the New York State Bar Association to remind you that you shouldn't be lying in sworn documents in a court in a court proceeding. Yeah, scroll on down. You'll see the.
Here's this. I hereby swear and affirm that I am the person named in Section 2, Question 1 of this form, the complainant, and that the information provided in this grievance is true and correct to the best of my knowledge. So there's an affirmation of truth.
Yep.
It was electronically signed. I assume it's signed in New York, so that would be under New York jurisdiction.
Theoretically, he's a New York attorney. Now, I'm going to be really pissed off if it turns out he's actually not even a licensed attorney.
Well, I think he is. I think that's in the doxing.
Really,
but
the standards of licensing have declined somewhat.
Let's see. Here we go. Oh, no. I got to get off of me. We got doubles of me. That's weird. Oh, there we go. Oh, God. So that's the complaint.
That's a complaint.
It's a thing of beauty in its own way.
Well, it's annoying that I got to spend resources and time jacking with this, but I don't actually have to. My staff will.
Right.
Like I said, this will be one complaint that I will absolutely respond to.
Okay, I've got. Let's do the. I'm going to go back to the screen one more time here because I do have those. I have two Twitter dumbass hour, and next time we do it, I'll have more than two.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah. I mean, I looked through probably 70 tweets.
Dumbass statements. I mean, I think you're setting yourself way too high a bar to try to find legitimate statements from these clowns.
I think so too, but I was trying. I'm like, this is the first segment. I want it to be good.
And again, it must be said, I have never seen these tweets.
Yeah.
Because I don't read what these idiots tweet out.
Let's see.
I have a job and stuff. Let's see here.
Okay, so the first one is, I'll explain. Greg Doucette responding to J. Sean Lemoyne's initial filing with the notice of the hearing of August 8th. He says, oh dear, this is on the TCPA. And then he says, someone says, when are the oppositions due? And T. Greg says, if they're done in writing, really stupid idea, August 1st. So I think there are two very stupid things in that tweet, in that one sentence.
Well, I believe the term is response, not oppositions. You're not required to respond to any particular motion. I don't know why you would file a response to a notice of a hearing.
Well, I think they're saying the opposition to the motion, though.
Right. Well, in that case, Doucette is just making shit up because the TCPA doesn't even mention the filing of a response. There's no particular time frame of it. So again, someone who's not a Texas attorney is shooting his mouth off about something he doesn't know about.
So theoretically, there is no deadline for filing a written response, which you could, and if you did decide to do one, you could file it the day of court because
you could theoretically just go in and argue your points in a hearing, and we thought about that. But you want the judge to have something besides a trial transcript, a hearing transcript, when he's trying to make his decision.
Right, so this is silly. So you're going
no,
to...
it's not silly. He's full of shit, to use an East Texas term of art.
Right.
He's doing what apparently he does all the time. He is literally talking out of his ass.
Of course you would... I know you could make the tactical decision to go in and not respond in writing and just argue oral argument on the TCPA, but we're talking about a motion where if you lose it, it's dispositive of the case, and it's game over, and it's sanctionable, and fees are included. I mean, I can't...
But in theory, I could file an answer or a response the morning of the hearing. Now, the trial court does have discretion to strike something that's filed that close to the hearing, if it contains an impermissible ambush or something like that. I don't think that they would in this case, but yeah, but nowhere in the rules is there anything that says there's a 7-day window. Would that be what that is?
Yeah, August 1st to August 8th. And then the other thing is doing it in writing just isn't a stupid idea. Like that.
Oh yeah. How would you file an answer if you didn't do it in writing? Would you do, like, record it and then just like send the sound file? I mean,
I think he's suggesting that the only smart way to do the response would be to go in without filing it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but apparently these people are really pissed off and butthurt that I don't do exactly what the other side would really love me to do.
Yeah.
That really seems to get CPAP Boy really, to get under his skin.
Well, that's a lot of layers. Facetious Sage says, I don't hate Twitter lawyers. I wouldn't push them in front of a moving train. I just don't like them, so I wouldn't pull them out of the way either. That's pretty brutal. Joseph Texas says, oh no, does that mean Lord Saito and Andrew Parker can file complaints against y'all because I, an independent party unrelated to you, and at their request corrected the record and included their mom and Andrew's wife as verification? Whatever you do is up to you, buddy.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? Anybody that files a complaint against me, I absolutely intend to file a complaint with their bar association. So it'd be best if you guys wouldn't lie. Don't make Akiva's mistake. Or on the other hand, knock yourself out.
Let's see. Feral Hog Gavel. So this is Gavel Broken. This is an alleged attorney. I call these guys alleged attorneys because they're so brave, but they're unwilling to put their bar license and their record out in public. It's interesting for people who are so quick to shame the experience of others. That they will not put their own records up for other people to see.
Sure, I'd be curious to know who this clown is, though. Oh well, I'm not curious enough to actually, put any effort forth.
No. So he says the defendants are going to have pretty decent malicious prosecution claims against Percy and his firm, Vic, and drumroll, Screech.
Malicious prosecution is a criminal law concept, you fucking moron. I can already tell, Nick, that I'm going to have to take antidepressants before we do the
Is
Twitter law.
Is he looking for vexatious litigant? Is that what he's trying to say?
Possibly, but that doesn't apply either. A vexatious litigant is one that continuously sues people.
Right.
So obviously this guy is either an idiot. No, I'm sorry. There's no either. He's just an idiot. Okay, numbnuts. You're talking about a criminal action in a civil case, you buffoon. If I were you, I would not give my name out either. That at least is one smart thing you've done, moron. Good grief.
Fun fact, you don't have to be the one actually prosecuting to be liable for malicious prosecution. I mean, I think in that context means Yeah, you could be someone at the prosecutor's office who participated in some way in the bringing of the prosecution, where like maybe you make a recommendation to a junior prosecuting attorney to run the case or something like that.
I suppose, but I mean, this guy's just talking again, much like douchebag over there. He's just talking about, he's popping off about shit he doesn't know about.
So at least that's how it works in the states where I'm licensed.
And I'm pretty sure it doesn't. In fact, I'm pretty sure you're not licensed anywhere because you're a fool.
Because it's a fake attorney.
This client is licensed somewhere. I feel sorry for his clients. Oh, wait a minute. What am I saying? He doesn't have any clients.
Ouch! Shots fired. Hold on. I was reminded of one. Hold on.
I'm doing the pen thing again. Sorry.
Yeah, you got to stop tapping on the desk.
Yeah,
it's so loud. So here we go.
I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put the legal pad down because if I have a pen and a legal pad, I'm compelled to tap on it. I don't have time to go into it.
This one's for you, Guy.
Okay. Is it douchebag again?
That's Doucette. Let's see what he's responding to. Oh wait, he's responding to himself because he doesn't understand how to use Twitter. Pirate King Boris says, Vic Mignogna, looks like we know who you're suing next. Oh yes. And Doucette says, I've been practically begging Percy to sue me for almost 2 months now. Hopefully you're better at persuading him than I.
No money in it. Won't be suing him. Besides, what would Vic do with a repossessed CPAP?
I don't know. You could sell it at auction. Maybe get a couple $100.
No, Greg, you're just simply not relevant to this case, and you're actually not important enough for me to worry about. And as I said, there's no money in it.
Well, have you considered, though, that he'd have to crowdfund it again? And so if you listed it on eBay, you might be able to get more than the value because he might not shut down the GoFundMe after he exceeded his.
I guess the response to this idiot is, well, I guess you're just going to have to do something then that's important enough for me to sue you. But right now, yelling at the clouds on Twitter and talking trash and shooting your mouth off about things you don't know anything about. God, can you imagine a world in which you sued everybody for saying stupid things on Twitter?
No, I can't actually, because who has the
pretty sure in
time?
Texas, at some point, a judge in Texas will pull a shotgun out from under his bench, and I kind of believe if I were a judge in Texas, I'd have a shotgun under my bench. Just saying, it's like counsel, come here. Sorry, It was just
had to be done. Had to be done.
Wow.
Oh wait, now Percy Tyrone Beard has unleashed a death threat on T. Greg Doucette.
No, actually, I was saying the judge would shoot me if I sued idiots like that.
That's not how I heard it, counselor, because I hear it how I want it to read.
There you go. Wow. This guy, all these people, they are so dense. I think light probably bends around them. I've met people this stupid before, but I've never met.
I got to stop you. Sorry. I'm interrupting you, but something happened today, and you just reminded me of it. Stick with me on this. This is a nerdy joke, okay? In the Holmberg galaxy.
Sorry, shoes orbiting this. Sorry.
In the legitimate Holmberg galaxy, the astronomical Holmberg galaxy, scientists have taken the first direct measurement of the largest supermassive black hole that's been measured by direct measurement. And it's at the center of the Holmberg galaxy. So an immensely dense, massive black hole void is found at the center of the Holmberg galaxy. It is 40 billion solar units, plus or minus 800 billion.
And sometimes you just get lucky.
Oh God!
Me on. Then I remembered. No, wait, there actually is a Holmberg. Yeah.
There's a Holmberg galaxy with one of the largest supermassive black holes at its core. I mean, reality couldn't be funnier to me than that.
What you interrupted was me simply musing that I've met people this stupid and uninformed before, but I've never met people so proud of that fact as these clowns. Wow. And so that's the best you could come up with. I mean, I mean, you're stuck with the raw material you're stuck with.
Now, that was me going through approximately 70 tweets and going, most of these they're just shrieking insults, which is fine, but it's not.
Very lawyerly, is it?
It's not addressable.
No.
It's nothing I can address or that you can address as a substantive legal argument to measure the quality of what they're saying. Because
now you read some Nimrod's brilliant deep thoughts about how I could win the case, and I think it boiled down to, use basically trial strategies that any first-year law student would be familiar with.
Yeah, well, to be fair to that guy, he doesn't represent private clients, and he doesn't do this type of action, and he may not represent anybody in court.
So he's obviously well qualified to
provide. That's a Texas attorney who's in-house counsel at a major telecom.
Oh, that poor bastard. Ugh.
Yeah. So I don't want to.
Cut him some slack.
God has picked on him hard enough, right?
I know.
Okay.
Because being in-house counsel can be a soul-destroying life. Bullock was in-house counsel at several tech companies. And he probably weathered it better than most. But to me, all the in-house counsel folks I've ever talked to is they get stuck with all the drudgery and the scut work. And then when a fun case finally comes along, a litigation matter, they bring in outside litigators.
Yep. They're like, well, but you don't actually do anything here, so we got to bring in the guy who does.
You're just a tread in the company. And for someone with a law degree, that's got to be soul-destroying. I was outside counsel for a mortgage lending company for years. Harris, I handled their litigation and stuff. And Mr. Harris was a senior VP and in-house counsel.
I think you might find some interesting things if you look at the staff of a different mortgage lending group.
Yes,
you may find even more people associated directly with this lawsuit that I was not aware are employed by them.
Yeah.
There was one of the Yost twins who was employed by them for a time, and there's also the what?
One of the I can't remember.
One of the perpetual fiance of Jamie Markey.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Also happens to be an employee.
Yeah. Well, at least when we get past the TCPA stuff, we'll have a chance to bear down on that and perhaps invite more people to the party.
No, that'd be interesting. Eric Stein says, God, I love Ty. Sorry I missed him at Matsuri, but I had work, so could not be there till Saturday at noon. To think someone was stupid enough to attack a lawyer. Ty burned them down.
I'm going to do my level best.
Guidus says, maybe sometimes to resolve spats, you just need to put out an olive branch. So let me be the bigger man and say that I would pee on Akiva even if he wasn't on fire.
I don't think I'd stop you.
Mythos Irving says, that is so meta. Poor Shane's chair coon stood no chance. All right, now that's the 20. I've got a bunch of chats left. So let's, I'm going to go through the chats. If you do need to leave before the chats are done, just let me know and we'll say goodbye.
Mr. Bullock is actually coming to the office tomorrow. We're going to do an all-day strategy session on a certain case, but I'm already up so late anyway. I think I'm fine.
Okay, I think
I get to. Who am I kidding? Of course, I'll be up there at the crack of dawn.
Sure. Let's see. I think we'll be able to get through these in the next 30 minutes or so. So I'm going to start going quick. End Signal says $2 for 2 dislikes prior to show. Make him mad. Next is Sergeant McSalty says, whole jury panel got dismissed before voir dire today, so have my jury duty money. Hey, thanks, buddy.
That happened yesterday at court that I was at. They impaneled the whole jury, brought them all in, and then said, "We don't need you. Everybody's pled out."
Someone asked me what happens if they get to their jury duty in Texas and your you or Beard Harris, Bullock and Hughes are the attorneys, do they have to disclose that? I would think they'd have to. That'd be a question in voir dire, right? That they would have to raise.
I don't understand the question. Say that again.
Okay, so someone who's a fan of this show and maybe even a fan of you goes to jury duty in some matter, and then uprolls, say, Amazon Prime as the lead counsel.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't think I've ever in voir dire said, are you a fan of opposing counsel? Normally you say things like, do you know any of the parties? Do you know any of the attorneys?
Right, but they would have to say, no, they don't know you.
No, that's right. I mean, they could answer the question honestly. I mean, I'd just say, that's a rule of thumb is this: answer the questions you're asked honestly, obviously. But that's an interesting point. There's usually generalized questions too. Is there any reason why you think you might not be able to give, an objective view of the case and that kind of thing? But yeah, that's interesting. I actually got a jury summons today. We're not exempt from jury duty, although
I am.
No one in their right mind would ever put me on a jury. But
I'm exempt. I'm exempt because I've never been called.
Okay. Yeah. Well, again, you're kind of like me. Nobody in their right mind would. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I've never even been noticed for jury duty.
Interesting. Well, the funny thing is, people who you would say no one in their right mind would ever let you get on a jury, very often wind up on a jury when each side thinks the other will strike him.
Yeah.
I have an electrical engineer friend and client who, again, is not anybody you'd ever want to put on a jury. He's way too analytical and totally unpersuadable. He wound up on a jury, and it was that exact situation. Each lawyer thought the other would strike him, and they didn't.
Just a second. I'm trying to resolve an issue.
We have a problem. We have a problem.
I missed a super chat last night, and I'm trying to make sure I get to it, but it's hard to find those things on the fly. Mythos Irving says, and you don't know Ty in a biblical sense, only his wife does, not lying, lol. Blaine 20 says, hey Ty, my dad's friend is a lawyer in the Dallas area. I sent Miss Beard his details if you're up for a colleague to bounce ideas off of and such.
Sure.
There you go. Spooky Weeb Trash says, hey Nick, I'm going to Bubba Fest. Oh, hey, it'll be good to see you there. So you met Spooky Weeb Trash at Matsuri, maybe. I think she was there at Matsuri while we were smoking cigars, I believe.
Okay.
But I can't remember if she was there that night or the next night after you left. But anyways, I was wondering if you were going all 3 days of the con because the tickets kind of confused me.
Weren't they going to SWAT us when we post?
I mean, SWAT's a strong word. They were going to send the Houston cigarette police after us because we were smoking in a designated smoking area.
Yes. There were ashtrays. I mean, how many people go violent? Well, anyway.
Yeah, don't ask for logic. Let's see.
Even close.
Okay, next we've got read that one. The Unknown Otaku. Oh yeah, Spooky. I'll be there all 3 days. Unknown Otaku says, always remember #Cody was right. A Burly Knoll says, if you make Ty wear a suit, you should wear one, Nick. I didn't make anybody do anything. I'm not in control of.
I didn't have a chance to dress more comfortably.
I'm barely in control of my own show. Izashi Kuryuso says, you're much appreciated, Nick. Heart ya. Hey, thanks. Deathwish says, my boy Zach and Ty Beard, take my money, sexy Minnesotan. Gladly. Howling Warwolf says, Bark Gade and Harry Llama mustn't actually looked at Jawbreakers since they claim our boy Zach is a white supremacist. Katrina Honeycutt says, hi Nick, first time I've been able to catch you live. Oh hey, welcome. I really enjoy your explanations and opinions on things and admire what you've done for Vic. Keep up the great work. My pleasure. Will do. Put It Away 101 says, no message, just thanks for all the streams lately. You're welcome. Super Saiyan Surg says, yo Ty, can you one punch beard the Me Too movement? There you go. D-Man DOG056 says, Zach and Nick, opinion on fan fiction. Fan fiction is pretty much fair use. It depends on how much of a ripoff it is, I suppose. But what do you say? It's not like.
Well, there's no bright line on fair use. It's a court created doctrine, and and of course a lot depends too on whether or not the holder of the copyrighted material wants to come after you. I think if I were a studio or something, I would have a benign disinterest in fanfic.
What about the fan fiction that you requested the doxing of people?
We call those just bald ass lies in East Texas.
So to be clear, did you request that anybody be doxed?
No. Never have. Don't care.
It's almost like you're not responsible for what other people do.
I as far as I know, I've never doxed anyone, but I don't care. I mean, again, I personally have a hard time getting all wound up about someone taking information that's already out there in public and simply collating it and sticking it out on the internet.
Right. It's
I fail to see the substantive harm there. I think what is being complained of is Mr. Cohen just didn't like the fact that he popped off to some people who smacked him down. And
right.
Good for y'all,
Howling Warwolf says, prefer manga since they are largely free from wokeness. Oh, just wait. It'll happen. Reborn.
If it's translated, they'll
They'll translate it with wokeness.
I think, Nick, you said it best. What was it? How'd you say it? You said at Anime Matsuri that they do not wish you to be able to escape from how wrong you are, or something like that. I said it much more eloquently than I just did.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to replicate it either, but it's
very pithy, very, very. But that's it. I mean, they're just going to keep coming after you.
It's.
In fact, I saw where board gaming, and that's more the Euro style board games like Settlers of Catan, that type thing. They're now being attacked by the wokerati, because there are board games that cover Africa, the continent of Africa, or the colonial era, or whatever, and the wokerati are all screeching and caterwauling about that. Everybody out there, if you've got a hobby, these assholes are going to come and try to wreck your hobby. And you better band together and smack them down, because you can't negotiate with them.
Okay, Abel, that's a whole song. But I'll put the call out there. Abel Baker is looking for, what is it? Rockabilly and vocals. To do a parody song. If anybody actually is part of a rockabilly band and would like to be involved in that, please shoot me an email or something, and I'll get you in touch with Abel. And it could be very, very funny. I'm not going to read through the whole lyrics while we're on stream here because we got a lot to get through still. Okay, Reborn Exists says, hey, Nick, first time donating. Hey, so take the cherry. Just wanted to say thank you and Ty for all the work you guys do. And it seems like the Kick Vic are even hating on people who are neutral like myself. Well, that's because you can't be neutral.
Yeah. No,
they won't let you.
No.
To be neutral is to be opposed.
Clearly, they are seriously butthurt over the effectiveness of our pushing back publicly.
Right.
So, of course, we need to keep it up.
It was, Vic was supposed to go away. And he didn't. And how dare he?
That brilliant advice that the smart play for Vic was to do exactly what the people trying to destroy him want him to do. Not really.
Azteco1 says, Ty babes, celebrity clingers just hoping to be deposed by their favorite Texas attorney. There you go.
Sorry, douche.
Brooke Brooke Cherith says, ask Richard Meyer, dang it, if he has seen the Jim Jeffries edit of your Diversity in Comics interview. He probably has, but I'm curious how he feels about that. I believe he has seen that. I feel like he responded to it in some way back then. I'm sorry I missed that while he was on the stream. Maybe I can get him to answer that question. But it was, there you go. Thanks, Jim Jeffries, for boosting my video. Larry G says, get Sophia Narwitz for ESA stream. Broke the story. I don't know who that is. I could try. Kyle Rambler says, when will we see Jamie's deposition? Screw Kick Vic. Well, it's got to wait till after TCPA, most likely. Because there's a discovery stay and it's just hard to get a deposition during one. Real Spider Phantom says, approve. I approve the Beard Show. Nick's the guest. Hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute now.
No.
BJ Sparn says, Ty, how sleazy? Question mark. $1,000 to admit I own a cat. $2,000 to leave the door open for the cat to enter the room.
Okay.
How sleazy is that? I don't know. I don't know what that means.
I'm drawing a blank too.
I feel like there's a message there.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Wing012 says, if the Kiwi Farms is after you, it's your own fault for being stupid. Ooh. Kalinka Pavlova says, this is so evil trying to mess with people's jobs over Twitter spats, public info being made more public, and hurt fees. They want to fight with Moltovs, then we need to send them Moabs in Minecraft.
I can agree with that. Yeah, but the funny thing is, there is no Twitter fight because I've never interacted with this dipshit on Twitter or anywhere else.
Jojo Turia says, what are the legal ramifications of lying under oath to the bar? Well, that's up to the State Bar of New York.
I asked the State Bar Association of New York to answer that question. Lying in an attempt to damage my career, I take that highly personal.
Yeah. I can't wait for Law Twitter tomorrow to shriek about how it's privilege because it's in a bar complaint. Well, lying under oath doesn't defeat doesn't have an impact on the privilege of the complaint.
The State Bar of Texas is obliged to keep the complaint to treat it as privileged. I am not. My First Amendment rights allow me to confront my accuser publicly, which is exactly what I'm doing.
I mean, privileged against suing for defamation is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. I haven't said for defamation.
Right. Lying under oath isn't the same thing as suing for defamation.
And again, we think, we haven't done the research yet, I think there's actually a federal cause of action, which if that happens, hopefully I'd be able to get jurisdiction in the Eastern District of Texas. That would be fun.
Someone explained the cat thing to me. There's a streamer, DSP, Darkside Phil, who would do questions like that to get people to do something. So so that's a reference to DSP getting fans to fund confirming he owns a cat, I think. So for $1,000, you'd admit that you have a cat. For $2,000, you'll open the door and let the cat on the stream.
I gotcha. Okay.
There you go. There you go.
I think that's already been my case. Although I was hoping Lawcat would make an appearance, but she's sitting over on my couch glaring at me.
Maybe you need to give her $1,000.
She's just got that attitude of you obviously want me to come over and head bump you, and so I will not.
Did you see?
I'm wearing a suit. The suit is like a magnet. Both of the cats.
Did you see the video clip of the young socialist thing where like the people kept making points of personal privilege?
Yeah. I heard about it, and the Babylon Bee did a typically brilliant spoof saying they were going to start doing interpretive dance because they couldn't get through a single sentence without.
My favorite was all that, like whenever someone would bring up their like, let's not use gendered pronouns to describe the group, and then everybody, because it can't clap. Clapping is. It messes with people with sensory issues. It's too loud and causes anxiety in people.
Oh, we need a world war. We really do.
Randall Anderson says, "This is Randall from Bubba Fest. Who all is coming to the show? We need to talk." Hey,
Randall.
me.
Sadly, I don't think I'm going to unless we get everything finished in that case. Just the deadlines fall the way they fell. So,
yeah. Let's see.
Excuse me.
Fatal System Error says, "Reading through mean tweets and grading them, I found that pretty entertaining. Also, thanks for introducing me to Masterson. Last night's show had me rolling with laughter." Dick's
heard that show. Yes, he is hysterical.
Yeah.
I can't wait to listen to it. I mean,
The Unknown Otaku says, "Never forget one thing is always true. Hashtag Cody was right." Evan Rogers, lots of Cody fans in the chat. Evan Rogers says, "I like how they assume the people they cry to are as half of a big of a demonetized as they are." Oh, yeah, that's redacted. Verseal, not Versailles. Verseal says, "Hey Nick, when you get a chance, check your Twitter DM. I had a question about the Road Rage show." Oh God, I'll try and find it. Talbot Link says, "I'm laughing at the thought of this New York clown lawyer having to sit through Nick's past episodes to gather his trash notes." Oh, he watches the show. They all
watching. They're all watching it.
They can't not watch it.
I've said this. To my staff anyway. You're not just living in their head. You have taken possession of their head through adverse possession.
They're all trying to figure out how to make money. That's the real thing they're trying to do.
Well, here's a thought: get your ass off Twitter and go get some clients. Oh, wait a minute, you're too stupid and incompetent to get clients. Well, I can't really help you on that.
Blaine 20. Greg said on July 28th, "I've been practically begging Percy to sue me for almost 2 months now. We should probably report him to Twitter for trying to suicide."
That's pretty good.
Let's see. The lawyer bot says, "What exactly does third party mean in this case?" Typically, third parties have some relation to the case, right? Yeah. You have a first party who's party to the case, and then a third party related to the case or to one of the parties.
The opinions that we found deal with an abusive process, the legal process in some respect. Because as I said, what little whiny Akiva is trying to get the State Bar of Texas to do is say that being rude to someone on the internet is an ethical violation. Although curiously, he doesn't seem to want that standard to apply to him.
No.
The State Bar of Texas does not have the legal authority to enforce such a rule. I mean, as I said, I would immediately file suit, probably involve the Attorney General too, for that matter. I mean, I think basically the State Bar of Texas just processed this claim, and it probably looked a lot nastier than it is, when he starts talking about his kids and stuff. But I think they're going to be very interested to find out that you doxed your own kids, you fucking moron, Akiva. You really are dumb as a bucket of shit, aren't you? You sad little man.
He posted his own address in. Yeah. Memology 101 says, "Shout out to lawyer Conehead." Hey, what's up, buddy? Life of Sarcasm, thank you for the donation. Cesario JPN says, "Keeping tie up late, lost the case again, Nick. Every day. Unhinged Crank says, "Juror number 3, do you Amazon Prime?" Yeah, she needs to behave and calm down. Whoa.
I don't even joke about that at the office, and I'm quite the smart ass. She's a little bit, she's still a little bit testy about that.
Sakaki Onsai says, "Great news. Vic's New York engagement is going from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., longer than normal. Totally
Right.
BTFO's Manjaw's blatant attempts at TI. Also, Ty, which is better, Van Halen, David Lee Roth, or Van Hagar?"
David Lee Roth, I hate to say. I like Sammy Hagar just fine, don't get me wrong, but come on. I mean, with David Lee Roth, they had some real chemistry. David Lee Roth was a complete lunatic, but,
Zero the Slayer says, "I just saw an article saying they have found the largest black hole to date. They found it in the Holmberg 15A galaxy. Insert Shane fat joke here." Well, there you go.
Even the cosmos hates you, Shane.
Oh, why does nature and nature's God punish one man so heavily? The Unknown Otaku says, "Hey Nick, was fun at Anime Matsuri with you." Hey, thanks buddy, you too. Yellow Flash 2 says, I will summon the 3 wise men for Bubba Fest. Yellow Flash 2 says, Johnny Walker, Jim Beam, and Jack Daniels.
Yellow Flash, how you doing?
We got to mix those 3 and drink them all at once.
Are they again?
Johnny Walker, Jim Beam, and Jack Daniels.
Wow. Yeah.
Sergeant McSalty says, the question about jury duty from yesterday was also me, but was a non-issue since none of BHBH was there today. You heard it here, folks. BHBH doesn't show up to court. Rotten Tanuki says, hey, Nick, pimp my Day One Patch Kids video. Remember, go watch Rotten Tanuki's Day One Patch Kids video.
My vid.
Austin Kinkle says, why doesn't Marky have a neck? Well, I mean, maybe she ate it. Talbot Link says, attacking settlers of Catan. Do they not appreciate the wood for sheep economy? Life of Sarcasm says, Kick Vic are absolute in their beliefs. Only the Sith deal in absolutes. Very fitting. But isn't that an absolute in and of itself?
Yeah.
No, only the Sith.
Right. No, that's right.
Henry Aller says, how do you make holy water? Boil the hell out of it. Vix Lasagna says, Ty, what's your rifle choice? G3, Cal, or M14?
M14. Because I have an M14. I have an M1A, which is the semi-automatic version of M14. That's just a big manly gun,
Gladiator says, Cody is a complete spurg. So there's some counter Cody audience out there tonight. Okay, now we're on to Justice Chats. Los Husbandos Taqueria says, for a limited time only, we are now serving West Nile tacos inspired by Fuhrer Lemoyne's Supreme Con Slut Leader and topped with the freshest mosquitoes straight from Jadolph's personal stash. Check your local area for availability and prices. Ty Beardicus Prime says, Ty, do all of your exes live in Texas?
I have no exes.
Also, what got you into law? Was it Jim Adler?
No, it wasn't. Jim Adler, the Hammer. Sorry, he's a lawyer that does memorable ads, or used to anyway. It was the desire for a Corvette that I ultimately never got, because by the time I was able to afford a Corvette, my back wasn't really compatible with it.
It says here, where did it go? Will we get any Jim Adler-esque commercials in the future from BHBH?
The Hammer. Probably not.
Have you seen the Texas Lawhawk commercials?
No, I don't.
That guy's great. He looks like he's about 25 or 27 years old, and he does these videos with the Texas Lawhawk, and he has big bald eagles, and he bursts through stuff on motorcycles. That guy's great.
I think the best ad I ever saw was after I got out of law school. It was covered, I can't remember if it was in the newspaper or the Bar Journal, probably the newspaper. Anyway, but this attorney in, I think, Lubbock somewhere was a very attractive blonde, and was, pretty well built, if you know what I mean. Anyway, she was running ads wearing fishnet hose with her high heels, with her foot, with her one leg up on a pile of law books and all this. And they actually filed a bar complaint against her, and she won, which
good.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. Great to see justice done. But I remember that ad. It was pretty funny. I don't even know what area of law she practiced, actually.
I don't think it matters.
No.
Nick, who will be recreating the Dallas news photo with you? Ty or Drexel? Maybe both. Well, Drexel's... I can't say that joke. Oh, my goodness. I've only had one drink. Drexel will. We'll do it that way. There you go.
You and Drexel are going to do a photo like was in the Dallas...
The opposing...
That's glorious.
This thing.
That's glorious.
What a disaster.
I think Vic actually has more Twitter followers than the Dallas Morning News has subscribers.
No, it's not more than paid subscribers, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
He didn't when the case started, though, so don't let them use that. Yeah. Emperor says, Ty, what's the best Tom Clancy novel, and why is it Red Storm Rising?
It's Red Storm Rising. Although Hunt for Red October really was good. Clancy unfortunately got... Red Storm Rising is a thick, mighty book because it's a thick, mighty story that requires that. But I know that in the later part of his career, he started just getting wordy, and I got to where I didn't have time to read his stuff. But yeah, Red Storm Rising is my favorite, though I did like Red October. Really like that. I really like the movie, actually, Hunt for Red October.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. BJ Sparn says, which is full adult human responsible? Posting a dozen pics of your cat or one pic of your wife on your wedding day? Which one of those is responsible?
I don't know. I don't see a problem with either one, actually. Presumably your wife is okay with you posting a picture of your wedding day. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. Asphyxiation says, has Ty ever been exposed to the leader of the Sweaty Sausage Squad, our grooming leader, Jim? I think, did you meet Medicare popped on to the 24-hour stream for a bit, but I don't know if you were on at that time.
Doug was on there, and who
Dick,
else?
I think.
I think it was. Yeah.
Okay. No, I don't think he's familiar with Jim. He might enjoy the Kurt Eichenwald videos in particular. Yeah, those are actually fascinating. Also,
the one that supposedly triggered his epilepsy.
Yeah, that's a Texas criminal case. It's ongoing. I'm trying to get the attorney on who's representing the guy, defending him for sending weaponized assault memes.
That's ridiculous.
But Ty, the photons from the flashing GIF file reached his irises, which the Court of Appeals basically said that they've held before that photons reaching an eye can be battery, probably from a laser pointer, right?
Yeah,
because that's a different thing. But
because it can cause actual damage.
Yeah.
Is it a federal case in Texas or is it state?
I think it is federal, but it's in one of the district courts. But I think the criminal case is in state court, but I think the appeal went to federal court.
What district of Texas would?
It's weird. Asphyxiation says, has Ty ever been exposed? Oh, wait, no. Oh, I'm reading that one still. Also, Ty, when are you going to come down under with your daughters?
I've always wanted my bucket list is both Australia and Japan at some point. But
we'll get Dick Masterson to do Road Rage Sydney. What could go wrong with that? And then we'll go.
I mean, I want to go to a continent that has more poisonous species per square mile than anywhere on the rest of the planet.
Than people.
Yeah, I mean, there's a meme out there, and it may be fake, but it's too good to check. But it's a pair of snakes trying to kill each other while some other creature is attacking a shark on a beach. I mean, it's like...
Let's see. Carnage Rage says, Mr. Beard, Mr. Ricotta. You spelled the name wrong. Sorry, I butchered your names. I like your works. Vic is a nice man, and his name being thrown into the dirt makes me sick. Asphyxiation says, what?
I mean, if it can happen to him, it can happen to all of us.
Yeah.
That's the thing to remember.
Asphyxiation says, follow-up, is Ty aware of the Montegraph situation? I doubt it. It's and where's Monty anyway? Monty, I thought I'm going to see you in court. Where are you? Some guys threatened to take me to court because I retweeted a tweet from Mr. Medicare. And within like an hour, this guy calls me on the phone. He's like, listen here, Nikki. You don't know what you're talking about, Nikki. Like, what are you doing, you weirdo? So then Architect of Fate says, I just told my wife to calm down. It didn't work. What do I do now? Run.
I find that telling women they're wrong in a calm and reasonable voice always makes them settle down and listen to you.
Actually, I was talking to my...
I'd run if I were you.
I was talking to my barber today, and he was asking me for relationship advice. And he was saying, when they're just kind of really mad and they just keep going on something, what do you do? How do you handle that? And I said, it's not always about being right. That's the best.
Never about being right.
Yeah.
Go buy her something quickly.
Yeah. Leave.
Change the paradigm, buddy.
Yeah. Knight of Hopex says, "Hey Nick, I was working on my material and realized that Lemoyne is a literal stand-up joke. Here goes. How many canes does it take to prop up a Lemoyne? Wait for it. At least one. No, but really, you'd think having no legs, he'd at least get some morals." There you go. Talons here says, "So Ty, since I know you're a man of your word, what is your favorite Sabaton song?" Uh-oh.
I have not yet had a chance to listen to them.
How dare you?
It's on my list. It's on my list. But so it's been kind of busy around here lately. But
These Hands says, "Thick pixies are called thixies. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk." Hey, thanks, buddy. Very informative. Schwazoom says, "Did you see that video of Jamie Markey initiating a pretend makeout session behind a fan during a con? I read it was from Konichiwa 2010, so after the supposed assaults." Oh,
I can imagine we'll be showing that at the hearing. But yes, I did see it, and we've captured it. And whoever tweeted out there, thank you.
Name says, "Lemoyne and his wife have one thing in common. They've both been penetrated by something carrying the West Nile virus." Come on. Oh my God.
That's, cut dudes.
Oh.
Tough crowd.
So
Tough crowd.
Anonymous, can I say this? Can I say this joke? Goodness gracious.
It's worse than the previous one.
Well, you be the judge. You rate it. Okay, you could just say better or worse or worse or not. Jutiva casts Wicked Jew magic. It wasn't very effective. So.
I don't know.
That's tough. See, there was someone who
being an arrogant, stupid, obnoxious, hypocritical buffoon is not a quality that's reserved to any particular group.
Well, but it's not about that. It's about I received a bar complaint from a lady who I think I said she used her wicked Jew powers as a joke. Like but it was in response to something she said. It was like I don't care.
I'm sure you had been goaded into it, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, and to be fair, I had a pass from Joshua Moon. I had the Hebrew pass that night, so that's why. Anonymous says the masks have returned. You can't see the masks, but they can. They only happen to me, so don't worry.
Okay.
Hated 7 Days to Die says, "Hey Nick, killing sleeping scheduled to catch this stream live." Hey, welcome. Anonymous says, "Testing mask sound." God, that sound is horrid. Hated 7 Days to Die says, because it was so much sloth." These are all mask comments. So it puts like an animated mask on my face, and they get to leave a comment as well. This is through Streamlabs, not through YouTube. Hated 7 Days to Die says, "We lost the case. This is fine." Hated 7 Days to Die says, "From Sloth with love." Hated 7 Days to Die says, "New filings, time for popcorn." Mercenary X says, "Nick, when you see Josh next time, tell him I'm against net neutrality because it is a backdoor SOPA/PIPA and a way for government to get past First Amendment with the way it's worded. It is meant to be a tool to shut down anybody for anything or nothing." Then he follows up with, "Hey, Nick and Ty, if someone tries to pull the same false flag with the farms like they did with 8chan, how screwed are those that shut down the farms? In a scale of nuclear explosion to Sodom and Gomorrah, nothing short of God could stop that wrath." The farms does have the wonderful effect of corralling people into one place who think in a specific way. And that way is comedy.
Yep.
And I love it. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. Now, I've, per everyone's advice, I've restricted my activities. I read the Weeb Wars thing and the Law Cows. Was it Law Cows LLP?
You don't want to learn about silicone ball injections?
No, never.
Hated 7 Days to Die says, "Salt everywhere" in that complaint. He also says, "Face masks are fun," says the panda harassing you. Kilo Bravo says, "Nani." Kilo Bravo says, Hated 7 Days to Die says, "The sloth is back." Next is Kilo Bravo says, "Teabag." Hated 7 Days to Die says, have you ever referred to this face mask as a con sloth? Wait, have you ever referred to this face mask as a con sloth? Kilo Bravo says perfection. Kilo Bravo says lawsplaining Princess Screech. Miss Akiva's Bull says, do you think this Akiva stuff is an attempt to disrupt Ty's attention and harm the Vic case?
Very definitely. It's not going to work, but absolutely.
Citizen of Yarnum says, thanks for giving me something to listen to while I cheat the casino on GTA Online. Lol, it's very tedious. Hated 7 Days to Die says, hey Nick, was there a definitive answer on how to get BHBH mugs? You got to be a client, right?
Yeah. We ordered them years ago. We ordered a gigantic stockpile of them. Next time we reorder, I mean, I'll put my daughters on it.
There you go.
They'll figure out a way to monetize it. I'm sure. I think Brianna's going to put the Amazon Legion of Doom shirts up next. She did the logo anyway, so I thought it was reasonable to let her do that.
Knight of Hopek says, Asia went woke a long time ago, but they don't have a sophisticated system of victimhood based on it because they don't value individuality nearly as much as we do. There's woke garbage in Japan. They just don't care about it in the same way SJWs do here. And then finally, Hated 7 Days to Die says, greetings from Germany. Ty, please no more world wars. We somehow keep losing them.
Oh, wow.
Have you seen Norm Macdonald's? Have you seen Norm Macdonald's skit on the world wars?
Oh, I like him. He's pretty funny.
He had a Netflix stand-up act just recently, which I would strongly recommend. But the bit is like they're talking about what country people are afraid of, and he's like, "If you ask me, it's Germany." Why? Well, Germany a long time ago, maybe about 100 years or so, decided we're going to go to war. Who with? The world. And they almost won. You know, he goes on, and it's a pretty long bit, but God, it's funny. And then he I can't spoil it actually. You should watch Norm Macdonald's. It's like a 1 hour Netflix stand-up special, and it's good.
You know, I remember in 1990 when the Berlin Wall came down and Germany began to reunify. I think it was Dennis Miller that made a comment. He said something to the effect of, I look at German reunification kind of like I would a Martin and Lewis reunion. I'm not a big fan of their old stuff, and I really don't want to see any of their new stuff. That was pretty...
All right, man. Well, that's it. That's that's it. So I said 30 minutes. It took us 39. So not bad.
Yeah, not bad. Well, as always, it was fun, but I think you're going to have to, I don't know, you may just have to lower your standards on Twitter law dumbassery because, there wasn't much challenge in this.
No, it was twofold. I mean, look, we filled the time. That was the other problem. It was like, if we're going to go through this complaint, and we've got your boy Zach on for the opening bit. I didn't think we'd get too much into it, but I mean, I did go through 70 tweets and found just nothing of use. But I'll lower my standards for the next one, and we'll just put up a list of them.
And that's because they're propagandists. They're not lawyers. I mean, that's the fundamental thing. And when they attempt to use their legal skills, such as they are, they don't. They just make stuff up. I sincerely hope that their client, well, like I said, they don't probably have any clients, but I hope that they pay more attention to the truth when they represent people. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Someone says, what about the Dallas News article? I mean, I've talked about the news article a little bit, but that was probably on Twitch. It's
I couldn't care less.
What? Here's
nothing to
the Dallas Morning News article. I talked about it with Dick last night. You should probably watch and listen there. Because Dick will flat out tell you that you get articles in the newspapers by writing a check.
Oh, sure. I mean, everybody knows that.
I don't think everybody does.
You don't?
No. That surprises some people. But let's put it this way, guys. The circulation of the Dallas Morning News, I looked this up. Their last reported circulation, this is in 2018, on Sundays was 120,000 people. The Dallas Metro is 8 million people. And their circulation is 120,000 people on the biggest news circulation day of the week.
I'm going to limb predict that in 19 that number didn't get bigger.
I would wager it didn't. And if we're being generous and it stayed the same, of 120,000 people who get that paper, the percentage that read that paper and read the story below the fold and follow through on an anime story in Dallas.
Nobody
Who pays for a newspaper? Only people as old as Ty pay for a newspaper. And how many of them are into anime? Really think about this. Is that, there's no way that paper is going to have the impact that they think it does. They're fighting this fight a decade and a half or more ago. They don't know what to do.
They are France at the beginning of World War II.
Yeah, the French
geared up to fight the last war. I just couldn't care less about that article. I haven't read it. The reporter attempted to contact us, and I just sent her to voicemail every time I wasn't interested in discussing. She already had her story written.
I think Lemoyne wrote a press primer for it, and she just went off that. Because it reads just like it. First of all, taking things that Vic said and saying that I said them. And second, she said that I pushed the lawsuit and then took a quote which I explicitly said that the quote, when I said that quote, if you just went 10 seconds earlier in the video, I explicitly said it was why I created the GoFundMe. Not that I ever pushed the lawsuit. I don't have the ability to push the lawsuit.
You referred Vic to us, and we evaluated the case and made the appropriate recommendations.
Oh, apparently I recommended he hire you, which is an interesting way of saying I referred him to an attorney in Texas, as I refer many people to attorneys that I know.
Yeah, I was going to say, as far as I know, you didn't recommend he hire me. You simply recommended that we talk, and we did.
Yeah.
By the way, I saw a picture of Vic at that convention. I told the Romulan, the story about the Romulan gun. Yeah, he went as the Romulan version of Captain Kirk and was insanely spot on with it.
Bob Newby says, I'm 29. I bought a newspaper a few days ago and I'm into anime. I told him to retire.
Sorry, Bob. You're the only anime fan on the earth, I think, that bought a newspaper.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to be done for the night. Oh, there's one more chat. There's one more chat here from Darian Morris. Says, just want to send a thank you y'all's way for giving me something to listen to while I work on my novel. Hey, you're welcome, buddy. Good luck with that. That's a huge endeavor.
Just do it every day. That's what Browning did.
There you go. All right, guys. We're going to have a good night. Since I have a guest, I'm not going to do the outro song because don't ask. It's a function of how this thing works. I'll set it up to do it separate at some point.
Inferior because I don't have my own theme song, and
I heard one's in the works.
Oh, is there?
I heard the gentleman who did mine might be doing one for you.
Wow. That guy's good.
He is. Professional musicians do great work.
You then. All right, my friend. Hey, good to talk to you as always, and to the stream. I think you'll be seeing me a little bit more because, I just don't think I'm going to let these people shut us down.
Yeah, I don't think so. Vix Lasagna says, Ty, have you ever watched the Broly movie?
Nope.
Me either. And Blaine 20 says, I only buy a newspaper to play Sudoku.
All right. Someone send me a couple of anime on DVD. I tweeted out a thank you yesterday for it. And it looks like military anime, so I'll probably watch it over the weekend or something.
All right, guys. Thanks a bunch. Y'all have a good night. Peace. What
he said. See y'all later. See you, man.
Wait.